Look at human anatomy, look at the stars. The number 33 appears again and again as a seal of culmination. There are 33 vertebrae in your spine, the ladder by which the energy of life ascends. The Master reached Christianity at age 33, and 33 is the maximum degree of Freemasonry, the title of the Sovereign Grand Inspector General. Society has led you to believe that this degree is a political rank, a title within a secret society reserved for a select few in dark rooms. That is the lie for the profane. The forbidden truth is that the 33rd degree is not an office, it is a state of consciousness. It is not granted to you by a man with a gavel. It is granted to yourself when you conquer the beast of your own lower nature. Humanity is divided into two invisible castes. The profane, those who are outside the temple, who live like rough stones, crude, beaten by the gavel of circumstances, rolling formlessly through life. And the initiates, those who have taken the chisel of will and carved themselves into perfect cubical stones, capable of bearing the weight of the world without breaking. This audiobook is the liturgy of your ascent. We are not here to talk about conspiracy theories, we are here to talk about radical self-governance. The 33rd degree is the point where you stop being the laborer who struggles with matter and become the grand inspector who commands it. It is the moment when duality dissolves, when good and evil cease to be enemies and become the black and white tiles upon which you walk. Through these 10 laws, you will travel the path from the quarry to the dome. In Part 1, you will learn to silence the profane and order the chaos. In Part 2, you will receive the tools of the trade, the square of righteousness and the compass of the Spirit. And in Part 3, you will sit on the inner throne assuming the sovereignty that was denied to you by your own ignorance. The doors of the temple are open, but remember, the only master here is you. The ritual begins now. Chapter 1. The Law of Hermetic Silence, to know, to will, to dare, to keep silent. The first law of the 33rd degree is the foundation of all real power, the law of hermetic silence. The ancient mages summarized the path of the adept in 4 imperative verbs, the 4 pillars of the Sphinx. To know, sire, the knowledge of the law. To will, vel, the force of willpower. To dare, odere, the courage of action. To keep silent, tacere, the seal of energy. Of these 4, the last is what separates the child from the adult, the apprentice from the master. You can know everything, you can fiercely desire it, and you can dare to do it. But if you do not know how to keep silent, your power will evaporate before it touches matter. Silence is not modesty. Silence is not shyness. Silence is spiritual thermodynamics. 1. The physics of pressure. Why the profane loses their strength. To understand this law, you must stop seeing words as sounds and start seeing them as discharges of energy. Every thought of creation, a wish, a plan, a vision, generates an electrical charge in your mind. It is steam inside a boiler. The purpose of that internal pressure is to move the piston of reality. The pressure must accumulate until it is so strong that it breaks the inertia of matter and manifests the desire. But the mouth is an exhaust valve. The profane feels the pressure of a great idea. I'm going to write a book as I'm going to get rich, and feels the discomfort of that pressure. Their ego wants immediate relief. It wants the reward now. So they open their mouth, they tell their friend the plan, they post it on social media, they seek validation. What a great idea, they are told. Are you really going to do that? Wow! In that moment, the profane feels satisfaction. Their brain releases dopamine. They feel like they have already done it just because they have said it. But physically, a disaster has occurred. They have opened the valve. The steam has escaped. The internal pressure has dropped to 0. When the time comes to work on the book or the business, they feel empty, tired, without impulse. Why? Because they have spent the energy of creating on the act of speaking. The 33rd degree master operates under a different physics. They have the idea, they feel the pressure, they feel the desire to shout it, and they close the valve. They swallow the words, they refuse to seek external validation. They force that energy to circulate inward, bouncing against the walls of their skull, heating up, densifying. The pressure rises to critical levels, and since the energy cannot escape through the mouth, it has no choice but to escape through the hands. It becomes unstoppable action. It becomes matter. Silence converts steam into motion. 2. The vampirism of validation. Why do we talk? Why can't the profane keep a secret because of the addiction to validation? The profane does not believe in their own existence until another confirms it. Tell me I'm good. Tell me my idea is valid. This need for external approval is the mark of slavery. If you need applause, you are a servant of the audience. The sovereign grand inspector, the 33rd state of consciousness, does not seek validation because he is the authority. His silence is a declaration of divine arrogance. I don't need you to believe in my plan for my plan to be real. My decree is enough. Silence protects your sovereignty. When you tell your plans, you give others the power to offer opinions. You give them a vote in your mental parliament. I don't think that will work, says one. It's risky, says another. Those opinions are viruses. They enter your mind and eat away at your certainty. By keeping silent, you deny them access. You keep your vision pure, uncontaminated by the doubts of inferior minds. The temple is built behind closed doors. Only when the work is finished are the doors opened. Wave collapse, the scientific evil eye. There is a darker reason for silence based on quantum physics. We speak of the observer effect. Reality is a wave of probability until it is observed. When you have a project in gestation, it is a fragile embryo. It is a subtle wave. If you expose that embryo to the observation of envious, skeptical, or mediocre people, their observation, their judgment, interferes with your wave. The ancients called it the evil eye. It is not black magic. It is the projection of a destructive or incredulous intention onto a nascent creation. The doubt of others is heavy. The envy of others is a psychic friction. Why force your dream to fight against the mental resistance of others before it has the strength to defend itself? The law of hermetic silence is a shield of invisibility. If no one knows what you're doing, no one can vibrationally sabotage it. You move in the shadows. You grow in the dark. And by the time the world realizes what you have done, it is too late to stop you. The tree is already an oak. The master is a strategist who advances under the radar. Living this law in the modern world is an act of psychological warfare. Society is designed to extract information from you. Social media are public confession machines. Social gatherings are rituals of status exchange where you are expected to put your cards on the table to be judged. If you refuse to play, if you refuse to show your cards, the system becomes uncomfortable. They will call you distant, arrogant, strange. This is where the aspirant to the 33rd degree must adopt a new operational identity. They must stop being an open person and become a living enigma. We enter the Sphinx protocol. The Egyptian Sphinx is in plain sight. It is gigantic, undeniable, visible to all, but its lips are sealed. It does not explain its purpose. It does not justify its existence. It simply is. That lack of explanation is what generates its power. Millennia later, we are still obsessed with it because mystery is magnetic. The Sphinx protocol teaches you to be present yet hidden. You don't have to hide in a cave. You can go to the dinner, you can go to the office, but your mind must remain on an encrypted frequency. The smooth mirror technique. When someone asks you, "What are you doing now? What are your plans?" your biological instinct, the desire for validation, will want to vomit all the information. I'm writing a revolutionary book. I'm launching a company. I'm going to... Stop. In that moment, you are about to open the valve. You are about to surrender your power to the judgment of the other. The master uses calculated ambiguity, reply with truths that reveal nothing. I'm working on several interesting projects, building, as always. I'm in an incubation phase. We'll see when it's ready. Note the difference. You don't lie, but you don't give away the key. This response creates a vacuum. The human mind detests a vacuum and will try to fill it with projection. If you don't tell them who you are, they will project their own fantasies onto you. They will often think you are more powerful, smarter, and more important than you actually are, simply because you are not seeking their approval. Your silence forces them to respect you. The one who talks a lot becomes ordinary. The one who talks little becomes profound. Hermetic silence does not only apply to your projects, it applies to your judgment. The profane has an opinion about everything. They have an opinion on politics, on the weather, on other people's lives. They feel the compulsion to take sides in every trivial debate. This is a massive energy hemorrhage. Every time you argue with someone who does not have the capacity to understand you, you are casting pearls before swine. You are lowering your vibration to the level of conflict. The master practices the fasting of opinion. They observe the chaos of the world, the news, the arguments in the office, and they do not participate. They internally repeat the observer's mantra, interesting, but irrelevant to my mission. This external silence allows them to accumulate a terrifying internal clarity. While others are exhausted from shouting their opinions, the master is fresh, charged with energy, ready to use that force in their own construction. The power you save by not correcting a fool is the power you use to build an empire. Now let's talk about what happens inside the silence. Because hermetic silence is not emptiness, it is contained fullness. When you have a burning desire, for example, the vision of a new life of wealth and freedom, and you forbid yourself to speak of it, a physical phenomenon occurs in your psyche: pressurization. The idea, unable to exit through the mouth, begins to grow inward. It begins to colonize your subconscious. It begins to alter your physiology. It begins to change your gaze. It begins to magnetize your aura. You become a pressure cooker. You walk down the street and feel like you are carrying a sun in your chest. You feel like you want to explode. That feeling of wanting to explode is the sign that the magic is working. It is the sign that the energy has reached the critical mass necessary to materialize. If you speak in that moment, you relieve the pressure and lose the miracle. If you hold out, if you sustain that sacred fire in your belly without letting even a spark of words escape, the pressure will break the barrier of reality. The energy will be forced to find a physical outlet. It will become synchronicity. It will become inspired action. It will become opportunity. The universe will bend before the pressure of your silence. Silence is also a weapon of hierarchy. In any human interaction, the person who most needs to speak is the one with the lowest status, or feels that way. The one who speaks is seeking approval. The one who listens and keeps silent is granting or denying that approval. The 33rd degree teaches the use of silence as a tool of command. When someone challenges you, or when you are in a negotiation, or when someone tries to manipulate you, do not answer immediately. Use the master's pause. Look them in the eye. Maintain silence for 3 or 4 complete seconds. That silence is heavy. It is uncomfortable for the other person. In that vacuum, the other will feel the need to justify themselves, to talk more, to reveal their cards. They will become nervous. You remain still. Your silence tells them, "You do not affect me. I am not in a hurry. I am evaluating you." This is the position of the judge, the king, the inspector. Silence gives you the high ground. It allows you to respond, not react. Learn to be comfortable in the uncomfortable silence, and you will dominate any room you enter. Does this mean you should never tell anyone your dreams? No, it means you must be elitist with your truth. The master knows he needs allies, but he knows allies are rare. Jesus had the 12, but only took 3 to the mountaintop, and only 1 reclined on his chest. You must create concentric circles of information. Outer circle, the world. They know nothing. They see your results, not your plans. Middle circle, acquaintances, colleagues. They know what is necessary to cooperate, but they do not know your ultimate vision or your weaknesses. Inner circle, the sanctuary. 1 or 2 people. Perhaps your partner, perhaps a mentor, perhaps a soul sibling. People who have proven through time and fire that they are not envious, that they vibrate at your frequency, and that they can sustain your vision when you falter. You do talk to them, but not to seek validation, but to amplify the resonance. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name in the same vision, there I am. Talking to an equal does not dissipate energy, it multiplies it. It is an echo chamber of power. But if you do not have that equal, absolute silence is better than the wrong company. It is better to burn alone than to be extinguished by the mediocre. Finally, the goal of hermetic silence is to set the stage for the only sound that matters, the roar of success. There is a phrase that says, "Work in silence and let your success make all the noise." This is the 33rd degree strategy. The profane announces what they are going to do. The master appears with the work finished. Imagine the impact. No one knew you were writing. Suddenly, you publish the bestseller. No one knew you were training. Suddenly, you appear with a transformed physique. No one knew you were investing. Suddenly, you are financially free. That surprise impact generates an aura of mystique and supernatural ability. People will think you have luck or innate talent. They don't know the hours of darkness, of contained pressure, of sealed lips and internal work. They don't know you are a closed furnace. That mystery is your protection. It prevents people from knowing how to attack you because they don't know where your strength comes from. By not revealing the process, you protect the source. How do you apply the law of hermetic silence today? The veto on complaining. Strictly forbid yourself from complaining about your situation. Complaining is an energy leak that confirms your victim status. If it hurts, use it as fuel. If you don't like it, change it. But don't cry about it. The announcement. Fast. Choose your most important current goal. Make a blood pact with yourself. I will not tell anyone until it is done. Feel the itch to want to tell. Feel how that itch turns into fire for action. The pause in conversation. Today, when you speak with someone, practice waiting 2 seconds before replying. Observe how the power dynamic changes. Observe how you become more conscious of what you say. The elimination of justification. Stop explaining why you do what you do. Why aren't you coming to the party? I can't. Full stop. No excuses. No white lies. No is a complete sentence. The silence that follows the no is the signature of your sovereignty. Chapter 2, The Law of Order from Chaos, Ordo ab Chao. Now you face the reality of your current existence, and the probability is that what you see is a disaster. Disorganized debts, broken schedules, unkept promises, scattered thoughts. Chaos surrounds you. The natural human instinct is to flee chaos or try to survive it, like taking shelter from a storm. But the second law of the 33rd degree offers you a radically different perspective, one that separates the rulers from the ruled. Chaos is not a system error, it is the raw material of creation. The universe tends toward disorder, entropy, so that the master's will can impose order. Your life is chaotic not because you have bad luck, but because your will has not colonized your environment. Where the king is absent, weeds grow. Ordo ab Chao, order from chaos. 1. The physics of entropy, the natural enemy. You must understand what you are fighting against. You are not fighting demons, nor the economy, nor your enemies. You are fighting entropy. The second law of thermodynamics states that, in a closed system, everything tends toward disorder, cooling, and disintegration, unless intelligent energy is injected to keep it ordered. If you leave a house alone, it fills with dust and falls apart. If you leave a body without exercise, it atrophies. If you leave a mind without discipline, it fills with fear and negativity. If you leave a business unmanaged, it fails. Disorder is the natural state of unsupervised matter. Chaos is what happens when you withdraw your attention. Therefore, if your life is chaos, the diagnosis is brutally simple. You have abdicated. You have stopped injecting ordering energy into your system. You have let gravity win. The 33rd degree master understands that his mere existence is an act of war against entropy. Every morning he gets up to impose a structure on the void. His life does not fix itself. He fixes it by the deliberate imposition of his mental design. 2. The hierarchy of command from inside out. How is chaos ordered? The profane's mistake is to try to order external chaos with a chaotic internal mind. He tries to organize his finances external, while his mind is full of anxiety and compulsive shopping internal. He tries to organize his time external, while his mind is unable to concentrate internal. It is impossible. You cannot build a straight wall with a crooked level. The law of order dictates the external structure is always a projection of the internal geometry. If your desk is a mess, it's because your mind is a mess. If your relationships are dramatic, it's because your emotions are dramatic. The physical world is a passive mirror that replicates the structure of your consciousness. Therefore, the master never starts by ordering the world. He starts by ordering the inner temple. Ordo ab Chao begins in the psyche. Before trying to fix your company, you must fix your thinking routine. Before trying to fix your marriage, you must fix your relationship with your own emotions. If you impose a sacred geometry, order, discipline, clarity on your mind, the external chaos, by the law of resonance, will begin to align in orderly rows before you. 3. The sacred geometry of habit. Chaos is fluid, order is solid. To trap chaos, you need a net. That net is called structure, and the basic unit of human structure is habit. The profane hates routine. He sees it as a prison. He wants to flow, he wants to be free. But in the 33rd degree, we know that this freedom is only slavery to impulses and chance. One who flows without banks ends up as a swamp. The master loves routine. He loves ritual, because he knows that routine is the containment wall that prevents entropy from destroying his life. Order is not something you do once, it is something you sustain. Getting up at the same time is an act of order. Eating in moderation is an act of order. Reviewing accounts weekly is an act of order. These small structures seem boring, but they are the foundations of the temple. Without them, the energy accumulated by silence, chapter 1, spills and is wasted. Structure channels power. A river without banks is a destructive flood. A river with banks, order, is a source of hydroelectric energy capable of lighting a city. 4. Chaos as opportunity, the quarry. Finally, change your emotional relationship with disorder. When the profane sees a problem, he cries. When the master sees a problem, chaos, he sees raw material. A problem is simply disorganized energy waiting for a leader. A company in crisis is chaos, waiting for a manager with vision. The sick body is chaos waiting for a disciplined mind. An anxious mind is creative energy waiting for a purpose. Do not fear chaos. Chaos is the quarry from which you extract the stones for your work. If everything were already perfect, you would have no job. You could not prove your mastery. The sovereign Grand Inspector descends into the quarry, looks at the broken and deformed stones and says, "Perfect. Here is enough material to build a cathedral." Entropy is the gravity of the universe that pulls everything toward disorder and death. If you do not apply a counterforce, your life falls apart. The solution is ordo ab chao. But order is not something that is asked for, it is something that is built. The profane waits for his life to order itself someday when he has less work or more money. The master knows that order is the cause, not the effect. First you order, then you prosper. We now enter the architecture workshop. You will receive the symbolic and practical tools of operative masonry applied to modern psychology. You will learn to use the rule of 24 inches, the mental square, and the level of the will. 1. The perfect cube protocol, the 24-inch rule. In the symbolism of the 33rd degree, one of the most important tools is the 24-inch rule. For the profane, it is a tool for measuring stone. For the initiate, it is the symbol of the solar day. It represents the 24 hours handed to every man, from beggar to emperor. It is the only democratic resource in the universe. Chaos enters your life because you treat time as a liquid, amorphous substance. You let it spill. You say, "I'll do it when I have time." The master treats time as solid stone. He carves his day into blocks. The Trianon technique, the sacred division. The ancients divided the rule into 3 equal parts of 8 hours. 8 hours for the work, service to God world. Your job, your business, your mission. 8 hours for sleep, restoration. Respect for biology. 8 hours for the temple, study and nobility. Your growth, your family, your spirit. Chaos arises when these borders are broken. When you work 14 hours and sleep 4. When you bring work to family dinner. When leisure contaminates productivity. This is profanation of the temple. It is mixing the materials. The Hermetic blockade ritual. To apply ordo ab chao, you must learn to seal your time blocks. If you are in the 8 hours of work, the door is closed to distraction. No social media, no trivial calls. It is sacred time for construction. You are laying bricks. If you are in the 8 hours of the temple, rest family, the door is closed to work. You don't check emails, you don't think about problems. It is sacred time for renewal. The master does not try to do things. The master inhabits watertight compartments. When he is there, he is totally there. This focus eliminates the entropy leak, the anxiety of being in one place while thinking about another. It orders your day as if you were placing stones in a wall. If one stone is crooked, if you mix times, the wall falls. 2. The mental square, the rectification of thought. External disorder is always a symptom of internal disorder. Your mind, in its natural state, the rough ashlar, is chaotic. It jumps from past to future, from fear to desire, from anger to guilt. It is a wild animal. You cannot build a straight life with crooked thoughts. You need the square. The square is the tool that verifies the 90-degree angle. It verifies rectitude. The mental square protocol is the practice of auditing your thoughts in real time. The rectification technique. Throughout the day, thousands of thoughts will cross your mind. Most are entropic garbage. I won't be able to. I'm so stupid. I hate this. The profane accepts these thoughts as their reality. The master takes out the square and measures the thought. He asks, is this thought straight? Is it aligned with my purpose? Is it constructive? Is it true? If the thought does not pass the square test, if it is a thought of victimhood, useless fear, or gossip, the master discards it. He cuts it off. He chisels it out of his mind. You say, this thought is debris. It is useless for construction. Get out. This is exhausting at first. It requires constant vigilance. But after a few days, your mind understands that there is an inspector at the gate. Chaotic thoughts stop coming so frequently. Your mind becomes geometric. You start thinking in straight lines. Problem, solution. Desire, action, error, correction. Drama disappears. Mental efficiency skyrockets. Ordo ab chao means you do not allow mental weeds to grow in the garden of your intellect. 3. The colonization of the physical environment, the outer temple. There is a hidden law in architecture. Space molds consciousness. You cannot have a 33rd degree mind living in a grade 1 environment. If your house is a mess, if your car is dirty, if your desk is full of old papers, your environment is constantly shouting chaos at you. Those visual signals of disorder consume your brain's bandwidth. They exhaust you without you realizing it. External entropy feeds internal entropy. The master practices the colonization of the environment. Wherever the master sets his foot, order must manifest. His presence is an agent of structure. The sweep ritual. Before trying to fix your life or become a millionaire, start by fixing your room. Jordan Peterson popularized it, but it is an ancient Masonic principle. As within, so without, but the outside sustains the inside. Take a weekend and declare war on entropy in your house. Throw away what is broken, dead energy. Organize what is scattered. Clean what is dirty. Do it not as a boring household task. Do it as an exorcism ritual. You are removing chaos from your territory. You are reclaiming your space from entropy. When you sit at a clean desk in an untidy room, you will feel an immediate change in your breathing. Your mind will clear. You will have created a fertile void. Physical order acts as a capacitor that accumulates psychic energy. A clean temple invites divinity. A dirty temple invites rats. You are the guardian of the temple. Let your environment reflect the majesty of your spirit, not the confusion of your ego. The hierarchy of problems. The commander's triage. Chaos often manifests as a flood of problems. Debt, health, relationships, work. Everything seems to explode at once. The profane panics. He runs back and forth, putting out fires without strategy. He gets exhausted and solves nothing. He is a victim of dispersion. The master applies hierarchy. He uses the judge's gavel. He sits in front of the chaos and, before acting, classifies. He applies the military principle of triage. The classification protocol. Write down all your problems. Empty your mind onto the paper. Now look at them coldly. The vital. What, if not attended to today, will cause the death of the system? Critical health, imminent bankruptcy. This is attacked first with all resources. The important. What builds the future? Projects, key relationships. This is scheduled in the morning blocks. The trivial. What is noise? Opinions of others, junk emails, false emergencies. This is delegated or eliminated. The master knows he cannot do everything at once. The law of order is the law of sequence. One stone after another. If you try to put the roof on before the foundation, the building collapses. Order your problems by logical sequence. First, I stabilize my health. Then I attack the debt. Then I look for a partner. Chaos dissolves before strategy. 5. The discipline of the body, the living temple. We cannot talk about order without talking about biology. Your body is the lodge where your spirit meets. If the roof leaks and the floor is dirty, your body is sick, intoxicated, or weak. The ritual of life cannot be performed with excellence. Biological chaos is inflammation, it is cellular disorder. The master imposes order on his flesh. It is not about vanity, it is about functionality. The austerity protocol. The master practices voluntary restriction. He knows that excess food, alcohol, and sensory pleasure generate entropy in the body. He imposes rhythms on his biology. Eat at fixed times. Sleep at fixed times. Train the body to be strong, not to look good, but so it can sustain the high voltage of his mind. When you order your body, you are sending a powerful message to your subconscious. I am in command here. Matter obeys me. If you cannot order what you eat, you will not be able to order an empire. Conquest begins with one's own skin. 6. The alchemy of friction, why order hurts. Here we come to the painful truth that no one tells you. Putting things in order hurts at first. Entropy is the river current flowing downstream. Letting go is easy. Being disorganized is comfortable, it requires no energy. Order is swimming against the current of decay. It requires a massive expenditure of activation energy. Cleaning the garage hurts. Getting up early hurts. Saying no to a vice hurts. You feel friction. The profane feels that friction and says, "This feels bad, it must not be the way, I should flow." And he goes back to the sofa. The master knows that friction is the heat of transformation. It is the sound of the rough stone being carved. It is the rocket breaking the atmosphere. You must be willing to endure the pain of initial ordering. You must pass through the barrier of resistance, because on the other side of the friction, there is flow. Once the system is ordered, once the habits are installed, the friction disappears. Life begins to glide on well-oiled rails. What once cost a titanic effort, going to the gym, saving, now happens automatically. Order has created momentum, and momentum is the most powerful force for success. It is when gravity starts working in your favor. Pay the price of friction today to buy the momentum of tomorrow. 7. The closure of cycles, termination. Finally, the most subtle aspect of chaos is incompletion. Half-finished projects, unkept promises, unfinished conversations. Everything you start and do not finish is an open loop in your brain. It is an energy leak. It is a program running in the background that slows down your processor. The master is a finisher. His obsession is not starting things, it is finishing them. If you take out a book, you read it or you put it away, but you don't leave it on the table for 3 months. If you have a pending difficult conversation, you have it today. If you have a dead project, you officially bury it and mourn it. The act of closing cycles releases a massive amount of trapped psychic energy. It clears the RAM. It brings you back to the present. Look at your life today. What is half finished? Finish it or eliminate it, but do not carry it. Order is the art of setting the final period. Operative summary of the architect. You have received the tools of Ordo Ab Chao. The 24-inch rule. Divide your day into sacred blocks and do not mix them. The mental square. Rectify every thought. If it is not straight, discard it. The colonization of the environment. Clean your physical space to free your mental space. Triage. Classify your problems and attack them single file. Biological discipline. Govern your body so it can sustain your mind. Closure of cycles. Do not leave loose ends. Finish what you start. By applying these laws, you stop being a victim of circumstances. You stop saying, "I don't have time." You stop saying, "I am overwhelmed." You become the center of gravity of your own universe. Chaos comes to you, and you take it, cut it, polish it, and place it in the wall of your temple. You become a machine for transmuting disorder into beauty. Chapter 3. The Law of the Mosaic Pavement, the Mastery of Duality. This is not an aesthetic decoration. It is the fundamental map of physical reality. The third law of the 33rd degree states, "The universe is sustained by the tension of opposites. Good and evil, light and darkness, pleasure and pain are not warring enemies. They are the 2 feet with which creation walks." The profane lives in the illusion of monochrome. He wants a life of only light, only pleasure, only gain. He spends his existence fleeing the black tile, pain, failure, loss, and desperately chasing the white tile. This flight turns him into a coward and a slave. Because if you flee from the darkness pursues you, and if you cling to the light blinds you. The master does not flee. The master does not seek, the master walks. And to walk he knows that he needs to put one foot on the white and the other on the black. You have been indoctrinated by a childish spirituality that tells you, be positive, ignore the bad, only light and love. That is poison for the initiate. A life of only light is a life without contrast. It is a sheet of white paper, flat, without depth, without history. If you eliminate the resistance, the black, you eliminate the force. Look at your body. Your muscles only grow when they find resistance, gravity, weights. Look at your mind. Your intelligence only sharpens when it encounters difficult problems. The black tile is not God's mistake. It is the whetstone. The man who has never suffered is superficial. The man who has never failed is fragile. The obsession with constant happiness has created a weak society, incapable of bearing the slightest pressure. The master respects the black tile. He knows that in the darkness of the womb, in the darkness of the earth, and in the darkness of the challenge is where power is gestated. On the other hand, there is the trap of cynicism and victimization. There are those who fall in love with the black tile. They identify with their pain. They dress themselves in their trauma. They believe that the world is an evil place and that suffering is the only profound truth. This is also a mistake. It is standing still on the black and refusing to move forward to the white. The mosaic pavement teaches you that darkness is a place of passage, not of residence. It is necessary to step on the black to propel oneself toward the white. But if you linger on the black, you rot. Depression is a static fixation on darkness. Mania is a static fixation on light. Mastery is movement. So what is the secret? If we must not reject the black nor cling to the white, what do? We ascend. The pavement is on the ground, horizontal plane. The master is standing, vertical axis. The law of the 33rd degree teaches you to find the third position. You are not the light. You are not the darkness. You are the consciousness that experiences both. Imagine you are walking across that floor. To your right, you are offered a compliment, white. To your left, you are thrown an insult, black. The profane is inflated by the compliment and destroyed by the insult. He is a puppet of duality. The master receives the compliment and says, "Thank you, that is a white tile." He receives the insult and says, "Thank you, that is a black tile," and he keeps walking. He does not allow either to alter his internal temperature. He maintains his equanimity. This capacity to contain the opposites without breaking is the definition of integrity. Integrity comes from entire. To be entire, you must integrate your light and your shadow. You must be capable of being kind, white, and when necessary, being fierce, black. You must be capable of enjoying wealth, white, and surviving loss, black, without losing your dignity. Finally, understand the physics of movement. To walk, you need friction. If the floor were perfectly smooth ice, only positive, no resistance, you would slip. You could not advance. You need the roughness of the black tile to gain traction. Your enemies, your crises, your fears are the necessary friction for your advancement. The master does not ask for the stones to be removed from the path. He uses the stones to build the staircase. He blesses his enemy because the enemy defines him. He blesses his obstacle because the obstacle strengthens him. Without the night, you could not see the stars. Most aspirants to the light make a fatal mistake. They try to amputate their own darkness. They believe that to be spiritual or good, they must eliminate their anger, their ambition, their sexual desire, their pride, and their selfishness. They spend years repressing these forces, pushing them into the basement of their subconscious. They become pleasant, smiling, passive people, and profoundly weak. They have created a mask of light, but they are rotting inside. Because the energy you repress does not disappear, it becomes toxic. It turns into the demon that strikes from below. The law of the 33rd degree is clear. You do not kill the beast, you ride it. The master is not a man without a shadow. The master is a man who has projected a light so strong that his shadow is sharp, and he has it bound with a golden chain, walking at his side like a guardian. The 33rd degree demands that you retrieve your lost power in the darkness. We enter the workshop of inner alchemy. We are going to learn how to recover your power lost in the darkness. 1. The physics of repression, the ball under the water. Imagine that your shadow, your dark impulses, is a beach ball. Society, your family, and your morals have told you that that ball is bad, that you must not show it. So you spend your life trying to keep the ball submerged under the water of your consciousness. This requires constant effort, a hand always busy pushing down. That energy you spend on repressing is energy you are not using to build your temple. You are exhausted not by what you do, but by what you hide. And the worst thing, if you get distracted for a second, if you get tired, the ball shoots up with explosive force, hitting you in the face. It is the good, quiet man who one day erupts in a fit of homicidal rage. It is the celibate priest who falls into sexual scandal. It is the humble person who, when given power, becomes a tyrant. Repression creates pressure, and pressure without channeling creates explosion. The master stops pushing the ball down. He pulls it out of the water, he dries it and says, "What is this for?" He discovers that the ball is not a monster. It is compressed air. It is raw vitality. The shadow is not evil. It is unrefined vitality. 2. The shadow diagnosis, the 3 useful demons. To integrate the shadow, you must stop judging it and start auditing it. There are 3 great dark forces that humanity has demonized, and which are, in reality, the engines of greatness, if they are refined. A. Anger, the fire of the limit. The profane says, "Anger is bad, I must be peaceful." And he becomes a doormat. He lets others walk all over him. He does not defend his territory. His peace is disguised cowardice. The master knows that anger, in its pure state, is the force of the limit. It is the energy that says no. It is the energy that protects what is sacred. If you are not capable of feeling anger, you are not capable of defending yourself or those you love. The master takes anger and transmutes it into determination and justice. He uses that fire not to burn his house, but to forge the steel of his character. The holy anger is what drove the merchants from the temple. It was controlled violence in the service of order. B. Ambition, greed, the hunger for expansion. The profane says, "Wanting more is bad. I must be humble and settle." And he becomes static. He stops growing. His life stagnates. The master knows that ambition is the impulse of life wanting to be more. The universe is constant expansion. Greed is simply the distorted, fearful version of aspiration. The master takes that ravenous hunger and transmutes it into excellence. He uses the desire to have more to be more. He uses ambition to build empires that serve others. If you kill your ambition, you kill your capacity to contribute on a grand scale. See pride, the spinal column. The profane says, "Pride is sin, I must be modest." And he walks hunched over, apologizing for existing. The master knows that pride purified is dignity. It is the internal knowledge of your divine worth. If you lack pride, you sell yourself short. You accept mediocre deals. You tolerate disrespect. The master takes pride and turns it into standard. I am not doing this because I am better than you. I am doing this because I have a standard of excellence that prevents me from doing less. Dignity is the immune system of the soul. It rejects what is unworthy. 3. The doctrine of dangerous competence. Here we arrive at an uncomfortable truth that Jordan Peterson and other modern thinkers have rescued, but which is ancient Hermetic wisdom. A harmless man is not a good man. A harmless man is a man who cannot do harm, and therefore his goodness is not a choice. It is a lack of option. The rabbit is not virtuous because it does not eat the wolf. It is simply weak. The true master must be dangerous. He must have the capacity for violence, the capacity for chaos, the capacity for destruction. He must have sharp fangs, and then, having all that lethal power under his control, he chooses peace. He chooses kindness. That is true virtue. Virtue is controlled power. If you are not capable of being a monster, you are not complete. You are a child. The 33rd degree demands that you recover your fangs, not to use them against the innocent, but so that, when real evil presents itself to you, you have the means to confront it. Evil does not respect weakness, it respects strength. To impose order on chaos, you must be stronger than chaos. Share the Black Mirror Protocol, practical integration. How is this done in daily life? How do you recover your monster? With the Black Mirror Protocol. Step 1, the invitation. Sit in solitude. Close your eyes. Visualize a door in the basement of your mind. Behind that door are all the parts of you that you have rejected. Your envy, your lust, your aggressiveness, your selfishness. Open the door, invite them up. Do not judge them, look at them. Feel the surge of negative energy, feel the heat. Say, I acknowledge you. You are part of me, you are my forgotten strength. Step 2, the conversation. Choose an emotion. Say envy, ask it, what are you trying to tell me? Envy will answer, I am showing you what you desire and believe you cannot have. I am showing you your unrealized potential. Eureka! Envy is not malice. It is a treasure map. Transmute it, say, thank you for showing me my desire. Now I take that energy of desire and use it for my own plan, not to look at the neighbor. You have converted envy into inspiration. Step 3. Task assignment. The master does not let the shadow run the ship, but he gives it a job in the engine room. Assign tasks to your demons. To your aggressiveness. Your job is to ensure no one crosses my boundaries. You are the guardian of my time. When someone tries to abuse me, you step out and say no. To your selfishness. Your job is to ensure I take care of myself first, so I can serve others from wholeness and not from sacrifice. To your cunning. Your job is to detect the lies and traps in business. When you give them a useful job, demons transform into diamonds, protective geniuses. They stop sabotaging you and start serving you. In the temple's symbolism, there are always 2 columns, Jachin and Boaz. One represents force, male, active, fire. The other represents beauty, form, female, passive, water. The profane leans on one and forgets the other. He is either an aggressive tyrant or a passive dreamer. The master walks the middle pillar. The middle pillar is not a stone column. It is the invisible path of balance between the opposites. It is not a static midpoint, lukewarmness. It is dynamic tension. It is being able to sustain the tension between mercy and severity simultaneously. Imagine a drawn bow. The string pulls back, the wood pulls forward. That tension of opposites is what gives the arrow power. If you release the tension, you go to one extreme, the arrow falls. The master lives in that tension. He is hard on standards but soft on people. He is ambitious in his goals but humble in his learning. He is a warrior in protection but a gardener in cultivation. This state of coincidentia oppositorum, coincidence of opposites, is the mark of divinity. God is both the lion and the lamb. You must be the same. When you integrate your shadow, a social miracle occurs. You stop judging. What bothers you about others is always, without exception, a reflection of your own unrecognized shadow. If the arrogant person bothers you, it is because you have repressed your own pride and secretly desire it. If the lazy person bothers you, it is because you do not allow yourself to rest and you envy their freedom. When you accept your own darkness, when you say, yes, I am also capable of being arrogant, I am also capable of being lazy, judgment disappears. It is replaced by understanding. You see the evil person, and you do not see a foreign monster. You see a part of yourself that has lost control. This gives you massive influence capability. You can deal with all types of people without being affected by them, because you already know all the demons. You have seen them in your own mirror. Nothing human is alien to you. This immunity to judgment makes you a magnetic leader. People feel safe with you because they sense that you are not afraid of their darkness, since you are not afraid of your own. The goal of the 33rd degree is not perfection, which is a static, dead ideal. The goal is wholeness, to be a complete human. A being who has access to the entire keyboard of the piano, from the deepest, darkest notes to the highest, most luminous ones. If you only play the white keys, the music is boring and childish. The symphony of life requires the black keys. It requires the deep bass of instinct and the high melody of the spirit. When you accept your wholeness, you recover all your energy. You no longer spend energy hiding from yourself. You become transparent, solid, and real. That authenticity is the greatest power that exists. A man or woman who has made peace with their beast is unstoppable because they have no internal enemies. And when there is no enemy within, the enemies without can do nothing. Chapter 4. The law of the square encompasses matter and spirit. To the sleeping world, they are tools of masonry. To the initiate of the 33rd degree, they are the control instruments of reality. The fourth law states, mastery is neither the flight from the material world to the spiritual, nor the immersion in the material forgetting the spiritual. Mastery is the exact geometric point where the square of matter is directed by the compasses of the spirit. Welcome to the mechanics of intersection. Let's look at the first tool. The square. It is a fixed angle of 90 degrees. It cannot be opened or closed. It is rigid. It is static. It represents matter. It represents the earth. It represents physical law. It represents the rectitude of action and the limitation of form. The profane lives under the tyranny of the square. What does this mean? It means his life is defined exclusively by material limits. I cannot do this because I don't have money. Material limit. I am not happy because my body is sick. Material limit. Reality is what I can touch and measure. Living under the square is living in the box. It is accepting that the laws of society, economy, and biology are the sole dictators of your destiny. The square is necessary. We need morality. We need realism. We need ground under our feet. But if it is your only tool, you are a prisoner of form. You are a square stone that fits into the wall but will never see the sky. The materialist, the skeptic, the cynic are men of pure square. They are solid, but they lack flight. Now look at the second tool. The compasses. It is mobile. It has a fixed point, the center, and an arm that moves. It draws circles, and the circle is the symbol of the infinite, of heaven, of the spirit. The compasses represent the higher mind. It represents intuition. It represents vision. The dreamer lives under the tyranny of the compasses. He lives in the clouds. He has great ideas, intense emotions, deep spiritual connections, but he lacks ground. His ideas never land. His projects never materialize. His life is a circle spinning in the air without touching the ground. He is the mystic who cannot pay rent. He is the artist who never finishes his work. He has a lot of spirit, but he lacks the structure, the square, to contain it. Here lies the secret revealed in the degrees of masonry, which you must apply to your psychology now. The secret is not in the tools, but in their relative position. Imagine the two tools on an altar, your life. Grade 1. The apprentice, matter dominates spirit. At this level, the square is placed over the compasses. Matter crushes the spirit. Your circumstances dictate your mood. If you lose money, you get depressed. If you get sick, you suffer. The spirit is there, but it is buried under the weight of material facts. You are trapped in density. This is the position of the victim. Grade 2. The fellowcraft, conflict. At this level, one point of the compasses is freed and placed over the square. They interlock. It is the state of struggle. You have awakened. You know you are a spiritual being, but matter still hits you hard. You have moments of faith and moments of fear. You are in the battle between your vision and your reality. It is the painful, necessary state of transition. Grade 3, the master. Spirit dominates matter. At the 33rd degree level, the position changes. The compasses are placed completely over the square. The spirit reigns over matter. This does not mean matter disappears. The square is still there. You still have a body, you still pay bills. But the compasses are on top. Your vision dictates your reality. Your emotions do not depend on your circumstances. Your circumstances are molded by your emotions. The master uses matter but is not used by it. He walks on the earth but his head is in the sky. There is a technical function of the compasses that is vital for the initiate, drawing boundaries. The ritual says, the compasses serve to circumscribe our desires and keep our passions within due bounds. This sounds like moral restriction, but it is energetic engineering. The human spirit is a wildfire. Passions, anger, sexual desire, ambition, fear are expansive energies that, if left uncontrolled, burn the system. The master uses the compasses of his will to draw a circle of control around his passions. He does not repress them, that would kill them. He circumscribes them. He sets a limit on them. He says, my ambition may go this far, but it will not cross the line into tyranny. My pleasure may go this far, but it will not cross the line into addiction. By circumscribing the energy, you increase the pressure. An overflowing river is a swamp. A river with banks, circumscribed, moves turbines. The compasses are the tool that converts raw emotion into usable power. Without the compasses, your spiritual energy dissipates into chaos. With the compasses, it becomes a laser. On the other hand, The master uses the square to rectify his action. Every time you're about to act in the physical world, you must put the square on your action. Is it straight? Is it true? Is it fair to both parties? Is it aligned with my purpose, my center? Will it bear the weight of time? Rectitude is not just being good. It is structural alignment. If you build a crooked wall, dishonest actions, lies, shortcuts, gravity, the law of karma or cause and effect, will tear it down. The master uses the square to ensure that every brick he lays in his life is at 90 degrees, perfectly aligned with the truth. He knows that the only way to build a temple that lasts 1,000 years is with right angles. A lie is an obtuse angle. It weakens the structure. The truth is a right angle, it bears infinite weight. But knowing that the compasses should be on top is not the same as keeping them there. The gravity of the physical world is immense. Bills, pains, conflicts, and the noise of the market pull you down, trying to bury your spirit under the heavy slab of matter. They try to invert the position of the tools, turning you back into an apprentice crushed by your environment. To maintain the master's position, you need to operate the tools daily. You cannot simply have them on your mental altar. You must use them to measure, cut, and build every hour of your life. We enter the operative workshop. I will give you the protocols of existential geometry. You will learn to trace the circle of protection and to square your actions with the truth. 1. The compasses protocol. The art of circumscription. Let's start with the tool of the spirit, the compasses. Mechanically, the compass has two parts. The fixed point, the center. This needle is driven into the paper and does not move. It represents your sovereign identity, your I am, your unmoving connection to the divine. The movable point, the circumference. This leg moves around the center. It represents your reach, your influence, your field of action and perception. The profane has a broken compass. His fixed point is not anchored to anything. His identity depends on what others say. Therefore, when he tries to draw a circle, the needle slips. The circle comes out deformed. His life is a scribble. The master begins by anchoring the fixed point. The immovable center exercise. Before facing the chaos of the day, the master anchors his needle. He sits in silence. He seeks his center. It is not a physical place. It is a vibrational place. It is the inner point where there is no fear, no need, where only pure observation exists. You say, I am here. This is my center. The world can spin, but this point is unmovable. Until you feel the prick of that needle anchoring into eternity, you do not open the legs of the compass. Tracing the boundary, the circumscription of passions. Once centered, the master opens the compasses. Why? To trace the circle of safety. The law says, keep your passions within due bounds. This is nuclear containment. Your emotions, anger, desire, fear, are radioactive energy. If they spill, they poison your kingdom. The master uses the compasses to draw a mental line around his psyche. He says, my ambition can go this far, but it will not cross the line into greed or exploitation. My tolerance can go this far, but it will not cross the line into submission. My anger can go this far as fuel, but it will not cross the line into destruction. This invisible circle is your force field. Everything inside the circle is usable energy. Everything that spills outside is waste and danger. When someone provokes you, you feel anger rise. The profane explodes. The master looks at his mental compasses and sees that the anger is touching the edge of the circle. He says, stop. No further. Not 1 millimeter more. The energy is contained, bounces back toward the center and turns into potency. The compasses are the tool that converts explosion into propulsion. 2. The square protocol, the judgment of rectitude. Now let's look down, towards matter. The square. The square is a 90-degree angle. It is the symbol of rectitude. In construction, if a stone is not square, if it has 85 or 95 degrees, it won't fit. If you build on it, the wall will lean and eventually collapse due to gravity. In your life, the square is your truth and ethics detector, but not an imposed religious ethics, but a structural ethics. The master knows that lying, shortcuts, manipulation, and laziness are crooked angles. It is not that they are sins that God punishes. It is that they are structural weaknesses that physics punishes. You cannot build a solid empire on a crooked foundation. Gravity will tear it down. The squaring technique. Before taking an action, signing a contract, starting a relationship, saying a phrase, the master applies the square to it. He asks, is this straight? Is it true? Is it fair to both parties? Is it aligned with my purpose, my center? Will it bear the weight of time? If the action does not square up, if you feel an internal friction, if there is an acute angle of doubt or an obtuse angle of exaggeration, the stone is discarded. The master does not build with deformed stones. He says, no. Even if it is profitable in the short term, this action is structurally unstable. I reject it. This rigor is what gives the master his magnetic power. The world trusts what is straight. People instinctively lean on straight walls. When you become a man or woman on the square, you become a pillar of reality. Your word has weight because it is aligned. Your presence has authority because it has no distortion. Tagi, the compass is opening, the measure of the mind. There is a technical secret in the use of the compasses, the degree of opening. If you open the compass too little, the circle is minuscule. You are petty, narrow-minded, a fanatic. You live in a point, not a world. If you open the compass too wide, more than 180 degrees, it becomes a straight line. You lose the center, you scatter, you fall into madness or the dissolution of the self. The 33rd degree seeks the perfect opening. In symbology, the compass is often shown open at 60 degrees. Why? Because 60 degrees is the angle of the equilateral triangle. It is the most stable and perfect geometric structure. It represents the balance between the three sides, will, wisdom, and love. And the controlled expansion exercise. Your job as an initiate is to open the legs of your compasses a little wider every day without losing the center. This means expanding your consciousness. Embrace more knowledge. Embrace more tolerance toward others. Embrace bigger visions of the future, but always keeping the fixed point anchored to your principle. Many spiritual seekers open the compass so wide that they lose the center. They become too open-minded, accept anything, lose their discernment, become useless on earth. They lose their marbles. The master opens his mind to understand the universe, but maintains his center to act in it. His expansion is geometric, not chaotic. He knows how far he can go without breaking. He knows his limits, so he can safely transcend them. 4. The intersection point where spirit touches flesh. Now visualize the complete symbol. The square below, the compasses above. They intersect. There is a space in the center where both tools overlap, a diamond-shaped space. Often at the center of that space, Masons place the letter G. To the profane, G is God or geometry. To the initiate of the 33rd degree, the G represents generation. It is the exact point where the spirit, compasses, penetrates matter, square, to generate reality. It is the point of creative friction. It is the now. The master lives at that point of intersection. He does not live only in meditation, pure compasses. He does not live only in hard work, pure square. He lives in the act of working meditatively. He lives in the act of spiritualizing matter. When the master washes the dishes, square action, physical, repetitive, his mind is sustaining a vision of gratitude and order, compasses action. In that moment, washing dishes ceases to be a subservient task and becomes a sacred ritual. The physical act is filled with spiritual light. When the master conducts a business deal, he does not only seek profit, square. He seeks service and the expansion of life, compasses. Business becomes art. The intersection is the secret to an effortless life. When you perfectly align your physical action with your spiritual vision, friction disappears. The square and compasses no longer fight. They collaborate. Matter ceases to be a burden and becomes a vehicle. The spirit ceases to be a phantom and becomes a driver. 5. Squaring the circle, the alchemical goal. The hidden symbol behind these tools is the ancient impossible problem of squaring the circle. Geometrically, it is almost impossible to construct a square, matter, that has exactly the same area as a circle, spirit, using only these tools. It is the symbol of the impossible task, to make earth like heaven. But the master knows that, although it is mathematically impossible on paper, it is experientially possible in the soul. Your mission on earth is to square your circle. It means making your physical life, your square, your four walls, your body, your money, an exact, perfect, and faithful representation of your spirit, your circle, your ideal, your divinity. Most people have a giant circle, big dreams, and a tiny square, mediocre life. There is misalignment. There is pain. The work of the 33rd degree is to expand the square until it fits the circle. Do not lower your ideal. Do not shrink the circle. Elevate your reality, enlarge the square. Use the square to build increasingly larger, more ethical, more solid structures, capable of housing the immensity of your compass's vision. 6. The dawn ritual, the calibration of the tools. How does the Grand Inspector begin his day? He does not run out into the street, into chaos. First, he calibrates his instruments. Step 1, the center, the compasses. Before getting up, he anchors the needle. I am an eternal consciousness experiencing this day. My center is peace. Step 2, the opening, the reach. He opens the compasses. He defines his intention. Today my circle of influence will be benevolence and efficiency. I will not allow anything unworthy to enter my circle. Step 3, the rectification, the square. He checks his schedule. He applies the 90-degree angle. Are these actions straight? Are they necessary? Are they aligned? If there is any crooked action, a waste of time, a false commitment, I eliminate it. Only when he has calibrated the compasses and the square does the master go out into the world. And when he goes out, he is not a victim of circumstances. He is a geometer. He sees the world not as a drama, but as shapes and structures. Rectitude is missing here, square, I will put it in. Vision is missing here, compasses, I will provide it. There is imbalance here, I will center it. He orders the world as he walks, not with effort, but with the simple application of his internal structure. Chapter 5, The Pen of Fire, the Creative Word. The central legend of Masonry recounts the death of the grand architect Hiram Abiff. It is said that he possessed the master word, the sonic secret that allowed builders to raise the temple effortlessly, defying gravity. When Hiram died, the word was lost. Since then, humanity has been operating with substitute words. Look at yourself. You speak all day, you emit sounds, you say, I want this, I will do that, I promise such and such. But your words have no weight. They fall to the ground as soon as they leave your mouth. You say you will start a diet and you don't. You say you will succeed and you don't believe it. The universe has stopped listening to you. To physical reality, your voice is just background noise, like the wind through the leaves. The fifth law of the 33rd degree is the recovery of divine phonetics. The word is not a vehicle for communication, it is a vehicle for creation, but it only creates when the vibration of the sound perfectly matches the vibration of the will. The profane speaks, the master decrees. Welcome to the search for the lost word. To recover the word, you must understand what sound is. In the beginning was the word, logos. Modern physics tells us that matter is simply energy vibrating at a slow frequency. And sound is the organizer of vibration. The science of cymatics shows that sound has the capacity to organize matter. A specific tone can cause sand to instantly organize into perfect geometric patterns, cymatics. If you change the tone, the geometry changes. Your reality is that sand. Your voice is the violin bow. The problem is that your bow is broken. You are emitting sounds, yes, but they are incoherent sounds. Your mouth says, I am abundance. Your emotion screams, I am afraid. Your body vibrates in, I don't believe it. This mixed signal creates a blurry geometry. The sand of your life does not know what shape to take, so it remains in chaos. The lost word is not a secret magic word like abracadabra. The lost word is any word pronounced with total vibrational integrity. It is when what you think, what you feel, and what you say are a single frequency. When you achieve that alignment, the word becomes solid. It becomes law. We live in the age of word inflation. We talk too much, we make promises we don't keep, we exaggerate, we lie for convenience, we gossip. Every time you use your voice for something that is not truth, you are devaluing your currency. Imagine your voice is a bank. Every time you say, I will do this, and you don't, you are issuing a bad check. The universe and your own subconscious keeps track. At first, the universe believes you, but after 1,000 bad checks, your spiritual credit is 0. Your subconscious labels you as a liar. Now, when you try to make a positive affirmation, I will be a millionaire, your subconscious looks at your credit history and laughs. It says, this is the same person who said they would go to the gym on Monday and didn't. His word is worthless, ignore order. This is the tragedy of the profane. He has lost his creative power because he has prostituted his word. The search for the lost word begins with a financial audit of your language. You must restore your credit. You must give value back to the gold of your voice. How is value restored? Through scarcity. If gold were as common as sand, it would be worthless. If you talk all the time, your word is worthless. The 33rd degree master practices verbal economy. He speaks little, but when he speaks, the earth trembles. Before emitting a decree, I am Phao. The master accumulates energy in the silence, law 1. Imagine a bow and arrow. Silence is the act of pulling the string back. The more silence, the more tension, the more accumulated potential energy. The word is the act of releasing the string. If there is no tension, accumulated silence will. The arrow, the word, falls at your feet. If there is a lot of tension, the arrow flies and hits the target. The master tenses the bow in the darkness of his mind, charges the word with nuclear intention, and only then releases it. That word travels with unstoppable kinetic force. It is not a sound. It is a reality projectile. The profane uses the word to describe reality. He looks out the window and says, it's raining. He looks at his account and says, I have no money. He looks at his body and says, I hurt. He thinks he is telling the truth. But in reality, he is acting as a notary of the past. He is signing and sealing the continuation of what already is. By describing scarcity, he decrees it again. The master uses the word to prescribe reality. He does not use his voice to report the weather. He uses it to change the weather. He looks at the empty account, but his voice says, my supply is infinite. He looks at the conflict, but his voice says, peace. This requires supreme audacity. It requires the capacity to lie to the facts, to tell the truth to the law. The creative word does not worry about facts. Facts are malleable, wax. The creative word imposes a new form on the wax. When Jesus told the storm, silence be still, he was not describing the storm. He was prescribing the calm. If he had said, wow, what a strong storm, I hope it stops, they would have drowned. Authority does not describe, it commands. To recover the lost word, to speak again with the authority of a 33rd degree master, you must undergo rigorous rehabilitation. It is not about learning magic words in dead languages. It is about charging your living tongue with structural integrity. We now enter the verbal gymnasium. We are going to learn the grammar of God. The first error that extinguishes the pen of fire is the use of the future tense. Listen to your internal dialogue. Listen to your prayers. I will be rich. I will heal. I will find love. Grammatically, these phrases seem like promises. Metaphysically, they are condemnations. The quantum field, the mind of God, has no calendar. It has no tomorrow. It only exists in an eternal, infinite, pulsating now. When you say I will be, you are sending an instruction to the universe that says, keep this in the future. Do not bring it to the present. Leave it always one step ahead of me, like the horizon I never reach. The I will is the code of eternal procrastination. To write on the tablets of destiny, you must violate the rules of human logic and adopt the divine logic. You must speak of what does not exist as if it already exists. The decree must be in the present indicative. It is not, I will be healthy. It is, I am perfect health. And here is the advanced key. Eliminate negation. The subconscious does not process no. If you say, I don't want debt, the subconscious receives the image and frequency of debt, and it gives you more. The decree must always be positive. Instead of, I don't want war, decree let there be peace. Instead of, I don't want to fail, decree I am success. The master decree has 3 parts. The invocation of presence, I am. The absolute quality, power, love, wealth. The time closure, here and now. This is the nuclear formula. I am is not a description, it is an identification. When you say I am, your subconscious opens the file of your identity and prepares to rewrite it. The only phrases that should follow I am are those you wish to manifest. It is not only what you say, it is where you say it from. The master's voice comes from the hara, the belly, the center of gravity. It is a resonant, deep voice that vibrates the chest. The ancients' chants and mantras were done with the whole body. Why? Because the low vibration has a longer, more penetrating wavelength. It has more mass. The resonance exercise. Before making an important decree, lower your consciousness to your stomach. Breathe deeply, and as you speak, visualize that the sound rises from your feet, passes through your belly, and exits your mouth like a cannon. When you speak with physical resonance, you are aligning your biological body with your mental intention. You are unifying the square and the compasses. Once you begin to practice integrity and power accumulation, your word becomes radioactive. If you use your new force to criticize, judge, or wish ill, curse, you are emitting a destructive shockwave. And because the universe is a mirror, that shockwave bounces back to its source with multiplied force. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. The Master uses the word exclusively to bless, benedicere, to speak well. Blessing is conferring growth energy. Bless your money, bless your enemies, because it neutralizes their power over you. When you become a constant source of blessing, you become a vortex of positive energy. Once you have issued a command of authority, you must fall silent. The silence following the decree is the sealing wax that protects it. Do not discuss the decree. Do not check if it is working. Let the pressure build the miracle. The highest use of the lost word is self-definition. You are the only being in your universe with the power to name yourself. Stop accepting the labels the profane gave you. Poor, timid. In the intimacy of your inner temple, define who you are. I am unbreakable will. I am the source of abundance. Repeat this definition until it is engraved in your bones. When you know who you are, and say it with the voice of thunder and the integrity of steel, the world will have no choice but to agree with you. Reality always ends up proving right the one who proves themselves right with absolute conviction. Chapter 6. The Law of the Phoenix, the Death of the Ego. In the ancient mysteries, before the initiate could see the light, he had to pass through the tomb. In Masonry, this is symbolized by the coffin of Master Hiram. In alchemy, it is the phase of nigredo, or putrefaction. In mythology, it is the phoenix setting itself on fire. All these symbols point to one brutal technical truth. You cannot enter the 33rd degree being who you are now. Your current self, your name, your history, your traumas, your pride, your social identity, is too heavy to ascend. It is lead, and lead does not fly. The sixth law establishes the condition of ascent. New life does not superimpose itself on the old. It arises from its ashes. For the king to be born, the commoner must burn. The death of the ego is not the end of the road. It is the entrance toll. Welcome to the calcination chamber. To understand why you must die, observe a seed. As long as the seed remains intact, hard, and protected in its shell, it is merely an inert object. Potentially it is a forest, but currently it is a small stone. For the tree to be born, the seed must self-destruct. The shell must break. The original form must cease to exist for the inner life to be released. Your ego is that shell. It is a defensive structure that you built in your childhood to survive the chaos of the world. It is made of fears, defense mechanisms, and social masks. It protected you when you were weak. But now that you seek power, that protection has become your prison. The ego says, I am my achievements, I am my pain, I am my reputation, I am my body. The master says, I am that I am. The conflict arises when you try to expand, grow the tree, without breaking the shell. You feel unbearable internal pressure. It is spiritual anxiety. It is your greatness trying to break your smallness. Most people use distractions to numb that pain. The initiate accepts the pain and helps break the shell. He voluntarily throws himself into the bonfire. The alchemist's great work was never about physical metals. It was a code about human psychology. Lead, Saturn. represents the heavy, dense, opaque ego. It absorbs light but does not reflect it. It is the state of gravity, being tied to the earth, to the past, to resentment, to matter. Gold sun represents the spirit, the solar self. It is radiant, incorruptible, a perfect conductor of divine energy. You cannot polish lead until it turns into gold. You cannot improve your ego until it turns into spirit. You must subject the lead to fire until its atomic structure changes. What is this fire in real life? It is the humiliation of the ego. It is the loss of illusions. It is the moment when life takes away what you thought you were to show you who you truly are. The profane flees the fire. He flees failure, flees criticism, flees loss. The master walks toward the fire. He knows that everything that can be burned must be burned, because the only thing that does not burn is the gold, the truth. If you are afraid of losing your reputation, it is because your reputation is straw, burn it. If you are afraid of losing your money, it is because your security is paper, burn it. What survives the fire will be indestructible. The process of the death of the ego feels literally like dying. Your nervous system panics. Your mind screams, "If I stop being John the lawyer or Mary the mother, I will cease to exist. I will become nothing." This is the terror of the void. It is the guardian of the threshold. It is the moment you are falling from the trapeze. You have released the old bar, but you have not yet grasped the new one. You are in the air, unsupported, without identity. Most people cannot bear this void. They run back to their old identities, their old dramas, their old addictions, just to be someone, even if that someone is miserable. The law of the phoenix demands that you sustain the gaze into the void. It demands that you stay in that space of, "I don't know who I am," without panicking. Because it is in that void, in that nothingness, that the all possibility resides. Only when you are no one can you become anything. The void is not death, it is the womb of resurrection. The ego operates through force and resistance. I have to control this. I have to defend myself. I have to be right. The phoenix operates through surrender, but not the surrender of the defeated. The surrender of one who knows the fire is their ally. It is the act of saying, "I renounce my need to be right. I renounce my need to control the how. I renounce my victim story. I surrender to the higher law." When the ego surrenders, it stops consuming energy in defense. All that massive energy you use to sustain your masks and walls is suddenly released. And that burst of released energy is what propels you upward. It is the phoenix propulsion. You realize that you don't need to defend yourself, because what you truly are, the gold, cannot be harmed. You become invulnerable by becoming transparent. We know that the old self is a calcified shell that suffocates the seed of your divinity. We know that suffering is not a mistake, but the heat of the friction necessary to break that shell. But here is where philosophy clashes with biology. Your ego is a survival mechanism. It is designed by millions of years of evolution to avoid death at all costs. When you start applying the law of the phoenix, your ego does not stand still. It counterattacks. It floods you with anxiety. It fills you with logical doubts. It makes you feel lonely, misunderstood, ridiculous. It screams, "If you let go of this, you will destroy yourself, defend yourself, be right, cling to your story." The initiate must have a strategy to overcome his own survival instinct. You cannot kill the ego with a sword, because the ego is an expert in fighting. If you fight it, you strengthen it. You must kill it by starvation and by displacement. We enter the ego crematorium. These are the protocols to dismantle the false identity piece by piece until only the gold remains. The first step to burning the ego is to stop being it. As long as you say, "I am offended," you are trapped in the fire. You are the fuel. The master practices linguistic and cognitive dissociation. You must start seeing your personality, your name, your history, your emotions, not as you, but as an avatar you are managing. Imagine you are in a video game. The character on the screen is being attacked. The character is losing life points. The player holding the controller is not bleeding. The player observes. The observer technique. When you feel a surge of anger, fear, or pain, stop. Do not say, "I have fear." Say, "The avatar is experiencing a fear reaction." Do not say, "I was insulted." Say, the avatar has received a negative verbal stimulus. It seems like a semantic trick, but it is a neurological firewall. By changing the language, you move from the center of the storm to the hill from which the storm is observed. You become the witness. The witness is the spirit. The avatar is the ego. The fire can only burn the avatar. The witness is fire itself. It cannot be burned. The more you practice this dissociation, the less life will hurt you. Pain becomes information. You stop suffering the drama and start studying the mechanics of the drama. Julius Caesar wrote his memoirs, The Gallic Wars, speaking of himself in the third person. Caesar did this. Caesar decided that. It was not just a literary style, it was a command psychology technique. By seeing himself as an external historical character, Caesar could make cold, brutal decisions without personal fear interfering. He separated from his own humanity to operate as a force of nature. You must do the same. When you are in the middle of a crisis, when your ego is screaming, start narrating your situation in the third person. Instead of thinking, what am I going to do? I am lost. Think, John is facing a financial crisis. John feels fear. What is the best move for John right now? By speaking of yourself as he or she, you deactivate the amygdala, the fear center. You activate the prefrontal cortex, the strategy center. You remove the emotional charge from the tragedy. The ego feeds on me, mine, I. If you remove the first-person pronoun, you remove the blood. The drama dries up. You become a strategist of your own life instead of a victim of it. The ego's main fuel is personal importance. It is the delusional belief that you are the center of the universe, that what people do to you is personal, that the world should treat you a certain way. Personal importance makes you heavy. It makes you fragile. You're like a fine glass cup. Any bump breaks you. The phoenix must burn its importance. The master actively seeks out situations that insult his ego to practice non-defense. The non-defense ritual. When someone criticizes you, judges you, or verbally attacks you, your instinct, the ego, will want to jump at the jugular. It will want to explain, justify, counterattack. It will want to say, you don't know who I am. The Phoenix Protocol demands that you shut up. Do not defend yourself. Do not justify yourself. Let the insult enter. Feel it burn. Feel your ego writhe in pain, and let it burn. That burning you feel is not real harm. It is personal importance evaporating. Tell yourself, if I am not this ego, then this insult is hitting nothing real. It is hitting an empty image. Let the image break. When you learn to take a hit to the ego without reacting, you become invulnerable. You realize that your real dignity, your gold, cannot be touched by the words of others. Only your vanity, your lead, can be hurt. The man who does not defend his image is a man who has transcended his image. He has become transparent. Arrows pass through him without finding a target. Do not wait for life to bring you a giant tragedy to kill the ego. Practice the daily death. They are small acts of voluntary renunciation that weaken the shell. Yield the way. When you are right in a trivial argument, yield. Let the other person win. Observe how your ego screams, "But I am right." Smile and let it die. You have gained something more valuable than being right. You have gained control over your need to be right. Anonymity. Do something good and make sure no one finds out. The ego wants recognition. It wants its name on the plaque. If you deny it the applause, the ego starves, and the act becomes pure spiritual power. The menial task. If you are the boss, clean the floor one day. If you are the teacher, sit as a student. Break the crystallization of your status. Remind yourself that your social role is just a disguise, not your skin. These micro-suicides keep you light. They keep you flexible. They prevent the shell from becoming too hard. They prepare you so that when the true phoenix fire arrives, the great transformation, you can release your old life without tearing yourself apart. If you practice this with enough intensity, you will inevitably reach a terrifying point. It is the 0 point. It is the moment when you have burned so many layers of your false identity that you no longer know who you are. Your old friends don't recognize you. Your old tastes disappear. Your old motivations, money, fame, fear, evaporate. You look in the mirror and see a stranger. You feel an immense void in your chest. The profane calls this existential crisis or depression. He runs to the doctor for pills to be returned to normalcy, the old dream. The initiate knows that this void is the resurrection chamber. It is the exact moment between the ashes and the bird. Do not run from the void. Sit in it. Inhabit it. That void is not nothing. It is pure potentiality. It is the space you have cleared for God, universal intelligence, to enter. Remember the physics. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you have emptied your cup of the old sour wine of your past, the universe is compelled to fill it with the new nectar of the future. In the 0 point, you are free. Since you are no one, you can become anyone. You are no longer defined by your past. You have erased the history. You are a blank page waiting for the decree of the 33rd degree. From the ashes, something rises. It is not the old you improved, it is a new creature. How does the phoenix feel? It feels light. It no longer carries the weight of what will others think. It feels cool. It no longer reacts with emotional heat to provocations. It has a stable internal temperature. It feels sovereign. It no longer asks permission to exist. It knows its right to be here is divine. This new identity is not based on the ego separation, but on the being connection. The ego says, I am better than you. The sovereign says, I am unique and you are unique, and we are both rays of the same sun. The ego competes, the sovereign creates. The ego needs to take, the sovereign needs to give. Once you have been reborn, you must return to the world. You must use a name, a job, a personality again. But now there is a fundamental difference. Before the mask was glued to your face, you were a slave to the character. Now you hold the mask with your hand. You know that John the lawyer is a role you play. You play it with excellence, passion, and art, but you know it is not you. You can put on the warrior mask when you need to fight. You can put on the lover mask when you need to connect. You can put on the sage mask when you need to teach. You have access to the entire wardrobe of the universe. Your identity is fluid. This is the final freedom. Nothing can define you, because you define yourself in every moment. If the world attacks you, you take off the mask they are attacking and put on another one. You are uncatchable. You are like water. You have transitioned from a fixed rough stone to living fire. Chapter 7. The Law of the Pelican, the Sacrifice of Power. If you seal a container and keep pumping energy into it, it will eventually explode. The energy that does not circulate stagnates. Water that does not run rots. Blood that does not flow coagulates and kills the body. The profane seeks power to possess it. The master seeks power to give it, not out of moral goodness but out of mechanical necessity. To receive more, he must constantly empty himself. The 7th law of the 33rd degree states, power is not possessed, it is channeled. The only way to maintain authority over energy is by giving it away. Sacrifice is not a loss. It is the opening of the floodgate that allows the flow of the eternal river. Welcome to the law of the pelican. To understand this law, you must change your mental model of wealth and power. The ego's model is the reservoir. The ego wants to accumulate. It wants a tank full of water, money, love, knowledge, and to close the faucet so it doesn't escape. It believes security is retention, but a closed reservoir has a limit. Once full, it cannot receive one more drop, it becomes static. And in the universe, static is death. The master's model is the pipeline. The master does not want to retain the water. He wants the water to flow through him with the greatest pressure and volume possible. He doesn't care if the water stays, he cares about the flow. He knows that as long as he is an open and clean channel, the infinite ocean will be behind him pushing. He will never run dry, because he is connected to the source. The law of the pelican is the transition from being a reservoir, fear of losing, to being a pipeline, trust in the flow. If you want more power, you have to be willing to let it pass through. If you want more money, you have to circulate it. If you want more wisdom, you have to teach it. Sacred geography gives us the perfect example. In Israel, there are two bodies of water, fed by the same river, the Jordan. The Sea of Galilee receives water from the Jordan and lets it flow out to the south. It is a lake full of life, fish, and vegetation. It is vibrant because it gives what it receives. The Dead Sea receives the same water from the Jordan but retains it. It has no outlet. It keeps every drop. As a result, the water evaporates, the salts concentrate, and nothing can live there. It is toxic. You are one of those two C's. If you receive knowledge, money, and love but do not circulate them, you become a dead sea. Your energy becomes heavy, salty, and toxic. You become arrogant, stagnant, and neurotic. The pelican's sacrifice is simply opening the outlet gate. It is the act of feeding others, your children, your students, your community, the world, with the substance you have received. By doing so, you keep yourself fresh, alive, and capable of receiving more. Here we must cleanse the word sacrifice. Religion has taught sacrifice as a painful loss. Take the bread from your mouth to give it to another and suffer for it. That is masochism, not mastery. The Masonic sacrifice is energetic investment. The pelican opens its chest not because it hates its blood, but because it loves the life of its lineage. It knows that by giving its blood, it is ensuring the continuation of life. The master gives not to have less, but to make space for more. He understands the principle of the vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you give money generously and without fear, you create a low-pressure void in your economy. The universe, by physical law, must rush in to fill that void with more money. And it always fills it with more than what was there before, because the return flow comes with the inertia of movement. The miser, the one who retains, blocks the vacuum. He is full of his own misery. There is no room for anything new. The generous person, the pelican, constantly empties himself, and therefore is constantly filled by a fresh, new current. Giving is not subtracting, it is multiplying the speed of circulation. In the profane world, the king is the one who is served by everyone. He is at the top of the pyramid, sucking the energy from the base. In the 33rd degree, the pyramid is inverted. The king is the base. He is the one who sustains everyone. The hidden motto is, "The one who wishes to be first, let him be the servant of all." This is not feigned humility. It is power strategy. He who serves the most people, he who solves the most problems, he who feeds the most mouths, physical or spiritual, is the one with the most power. Amazon is powerful because it serves millions. A leader is powerful because he serves his people. If you want to ascend to the 33rd degree, you must stop asking, "What can I get from the world?" You must start asking, "Whom can I feed today?" What do I have? Knowledge, resources, energy that can transform the life of another. When you shift your focus from getting to serving, you become indispensable to the universe. The universe protects and prospers its best servants. If you are a vital channel for the distribution of wealth and light, the universe will ensure you never lack anything, because if you lack, the flow to others is cut off. You become a partner of the divinity, not a beggar. We know that the Dead Sea is toxic because it retains, and that the Sea of Galilee is life because it circulates. We know that stagnant power rots and turns against its owner. The pelican wounds itself not for pain, but to allow life to flow to its creation. But here we face the moral trap that has destroyed thousands of aspirants to the light: martyrdom. The world is full of good people who give everything they have, empty themselves, let themselves be trampled, and end up bitter, poor, and sick, wondering why God did not reward them. They believed being the pelican meant slowly committing suicide. The law of the 33rd degree makes a surgical distinction. The martyr gives from his lack and expects to be saved. The sovereign gives from his excess and knows he is the source. The martyr gives to buy love. The king gives to establish order. We enter the circulation workshop. These are the protocols for opening the floodgates of your power without emptying your reservoir. You will learn to give with the authority of a god, not with the desperation of a slave. The first commandment of the pelican is counterintuitive, sacred selfishness. To feed others with your blood, your energy, your money, your time, you must first have blood to spare. You cannot give what you do not have. If you try to give energy when you are exhausted, you are not giving light. You are giving resentment, and the universe judges the vibration, not the action. A gift given with resentment is a karmic poison for the giver and the receiver. The overflow technique. Visualize your life as a cup, the Holy Grail. Divine energy, health, wealth, love enters from above. Your primary responsibility, your only obligation to the universe, is to fill your cup to the brim. Everything that fits inside the cup is for you. It is sacred, it is untouchable. It is your rest time, your money for security, your self-love. If someone asks you for what is inside the cup, the master says, no. The master protects his core. But when the cup is full, the liquid begins to overflow. It spills over the edges onto the saucer. That overflow is the surplus. That surplus is for the world. And because the source is infinite, if you keep the cup full, the overflow will also be infinite. The pelican feeds itself first. The king eats before the army, not out of gluttony, but because if the king falls, the kingdom falls. Your first practice of generosity is towards yourself. Only when you are strong, rich, and happy is your help to others pure and effective. Helping from weakness is only sharing the problem. Helping from strength is the solution. Once you have secured your cup, you must establish a system of constant flow. The ancients called this the tithe. Religion corrupted it to turn it into a tax of fear. In high magic, the tithe is a vacuum technology. If you have a closet full of old clothes, there is no room for new clothes. If you have a mind full of old ideas, there is no room for revelations. If your bank account is stagnant, even if full, the energy of money stops. The energetic tithe is the voluntary act of giving away a portion of your resources, money, time, knowledge, to deliberately create a low-pressure void in your system. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you give 10% symbolically of what you receive, you are creating a vacuum in your reality. The universe, by physical law, is compelled to rush in to fill that void. And it always fills it with more than what was there before, because the return flow comes with the inertia of movement. The circulation rule: if you want money, give money, even if it is little. The act of letting go tells your subconscious, I have more than enough, I am not afraid. If you want love, give love. Smile at strangers, help without being asked. If you want knowledge, teach. The master does not give expecting the person who received to repay. That is commerce, and it is low vibration. The master gives to the river. He knows that if he throws bread into the river upstream, the river will bring him the banquet downstream, perhaps from another bank, perhaps through another person. He trusts the system, not the individual. Here we enter the advanced strategy. The ego wants recognition. When it gives, it wants to be thanked, it wants a plaque with its name on it. Look how good I am. That desire for recognition is a leak. You are exchanging your spiritual power for a cheap payment of social validation. The transaction closes there. You gave money, you received applause. Done. There is no power growth. The 33rd degree practices the anonymous gift, giving without anyone knowing who it was, performing the miracle and disappearing into the shadows. Why? Because when you give and no one thanks you, the energy does not discharge. The circle does not close socially. The energy of that kind act remains trapped in your system, seeking an outlet. It generates positive karmic pressure. The universe is in debt to you, and since the universe always pays its debts and cannot pay you with applause, because no one knows it was you, it pays you with power, it pays you with synchronicity, it pays you with luck. The anonymous gift is the highest yield investment there is. You are accumulating a treasure in the bank of heaven, the quantum field. When you need a miracle, you can withdraw from that account. Be the invisible benefactor. Be the hand of God acting from the fog. The pelican feeds its young, not the rats. A vital part of the law of sacrifice is discernment. The master is not an open faucet pouring water into the desert. He is a directed channel. There is a brutal hermetic saying, "Do not give what is holy to dogs, nor throw your pearls before pigs, lest they trample them underfoot and turn and tear you to pieces." This is not elitism. It is protection of resources. There are people and situations who are black holes. They are energy vampires or broken bags. No matter how much you give them, it is never enough. They do not use your energy to grow. They use it to maintain their pathology. Giving them money, they waste it. Giving them advice, they ignore it and complain. Giving them love, they demand more. Giving power to someone who cannot contain it is an act of destruction, not charity. The master evaluates the vessel. Before pouring his blood, his energy, he looks at the other and asks, does this person have the structure to receive this, Will they use this to elevate themselves or to sink further? If the vessel is broken, the master closes the floodgate, not out of cruelty, but out of respect for energy. Energy must go where it produces life. The master seeks fertile ground. He seeks people who, with a little help, ignite and become suns. Do not waste your gold. Your gold is sacred. The highest form of giving is not material. It is mental. The greatest gift you can give the world is your light, your understanding, your map. That is why every master eventually becomes a master to others, not out of vanity, but out of spiritual biology. The law of retention by transmission. You only keep what you teach. If you learn a truth and keep it to yourself, it stagnates and is forgotten. If you learn a truth and teach it to another, you have to structure it. You have to understand it twice. You have to live it to demonstrate it. By teaching, you engrave the knowledge into your own bones. The pelican's sacrifice is also sharing the secret of flight. Do not be afraid to create competitors. Do not be afraid of the student surpassing the master. In the realm of the spirit, there is no competition. There is only expansion. The more light you ignite in others, the more illuminated your own path will be. Create other kings. A king surrounded by slaves is insecure. A king surrounded by kings is invincible. Finally, what does the master do with his own suffering? With his scars? The profane hides his wounds or uses them to ask for pity. The master uses his wounds as maps for others. The final sacrifice is taking your past pain, transmuting it into wisdom and offering it as medicine. I went through this hell and found the way out. Here is the map. When you do this, your pain acquires meaning. Suffering ceases to be a sterile tragedy and becomes the price you paid for wisdom that now saves others. The pelican uses its own wound to feed. Your story of overcoming is the most nutritious bread you can offer to a humanity hungry for hope. Chapter 8, The Law of Sovereignty, the Inner Throne. Throughout your life you have been standing, you have been running, you have been begging at the gates of your own palace, asking life to give you a little luck, a little love, a little health. You have acted as a pretender to the throne, always waiting for the right moment to be crowned. You have waited for permission from your parents, your boss, the economy, your partner. The eighth law breaks the weight. It is the law of legitimacy. The universe does not respond to need, it responds to rank. Reality is a court that only obeys the one who sits on the throne. No one will crown you but yourself. Sovereignty is not granted, it is assumed. Welcome to the inner throne. To understand sovereignty, you must first understand why you lost it. You were born a king. A baby does not ask permission to cry, to eat, or to exist. It is the center of its universe. It has its own gravity. But as you grew up, you were taught to abdicate. You were taught that your worth depended on what you did, not on what you were. You were taught that authority was external, in the teacher, the father, the government, the distant God. Little by little, you stepped down from the throne, you left the seat empty, and you went to live in the stables of your own mind. What happens when the throne is empty? Usurpation occurs. When there is no conscious sovereign at the center of your psyche, the barren thieves take power. Fear sits on the throne and dictates your foreign policy. Isolation. Anger sits on the throne and dictates your laws. Conflict. Scarcity sits on the throne and dictates your economy. Poverty. Your life is a kingdom in chaos not because you are evil, but because there is a power vacuum. Chaos is simply the absence of the king. Most people live waiting for God or life to come fix the kingdom. But the spiritual law is clear. The kingdom was given to you. You are the regent. If you do not govern, no one will do it for you. Let's talk physics, not politics. Sovereignty is a vibrational mass. In the solar system, the sun does not have to fight for the planets to revolve around it. It doesn't have to shout at them. It doesn't have to manipulate them. The sun simply is massive. It has so much mass, so much gravity, so much sovereignty, that the planets have no physical choice but to orbit it. The 33rd degree master becomes a sun. He develops such a density of presence, such certainty in his own identity, that circumstances, the planets, are compelled to orbit around his will. The profane is an asteroid. He is light. He has no center. Any external gravity deflects him. If the economy goes badly, the profane is deflected. If someone insults him, the profane is deflected. He is a satellite of circumstances. The sovereign is the center of gravity. If the economy goes badly, the sovereign creates his own economy. If someone insults him, the insult burns upon entering his atmosphere. He does not react, he emits. The distinguishing mark of the sovereign is that he never asks for permission to exist or to prosper. Analyze your mind. How many times a day do you ask for psychological permission? Is it okay if I take this break? Will they love me if I am myself? Do I deserve to have so much money? Each of these questions is an abdication. You are seeking external authority to validate you. The sovereign operates under the decree of origin. He knows that his desire is the only justification he needs. He knows that his existence is the only validation he requires. The master does not say, "Please, universe, give me this." The master says, "I choose this. And because I am the cause, the universe is the effect." This is not the arrogance of the ego, which shouts because it is afraid. It is the absolute calm of the law. It is the difference between the child who asks for pocket money and the owner who signs the check. How is the throne reclaimed? It is not an external action, it is an inner posture. You must learn to sit down. Metaphysically, standing or running implies that you are seeking something, that you are restless, that you have not yet arrived. Sitting down is the act of supreme power. The king sits while others stand. Sitting implies, I have already arrived. I am not in a hurry. I am not afraid. I am in my place. The practice of sovereignty is the practice of resting in your own authority. It is stopping the running after things, money, love, recognition, and sitting in your center, knowing that your gravity will attract them to you. It is stopping the striving to be someone and starting to enjoy being who you are. When you sit on the inner throne, your vibration changes from need, void, to sufficiency, fullness. And the universe, which hates a vacuum but loves fullness, responds instantly. In the world of matter, entropy constantly attacks. The world will try to dethrone you. Traffic will try to steal your peace. The boss will try to steal your dignity. Family will try to steal your identity. Every social interaction is, at a subconscious level, a status negotiation. The world constantly asks, are you the king or are you the subject? If you hesitate for 1 second, the world turns you into a subject. To maintain the throne, you need a 24-hour active defense and projection system. You need the daily coronation protocol. It is not arrogance. It is the necessary hygiene to protect your light. We enter the spirit's etiquette manual. The battle for sovereignty is won or lost in the first 10 minutes of the morning. The profane wakes up, and the first thing he does is grab his phone. He checks emails, news, messages. What is he doing energetically? He is asking for orders. He is asking the world, what should I fear today? What should I do? Who is angry at me? He puts on the slave uniform before getting out of bed. The sovereign never touches the world before touching himself. The investiture protocol is sacred. Before your feet touch the floor, you must put on the invisible crown. The verticality exercise. Sit on the edge of the bed. Don't get up yet. Close your eyes. Visualize a column of light descending upon you, an etheric gold structure anchoring into your spine. Feel the weight of the crown. It is not light. It carries the weight of absolute responsibility. Say internally, I am the authority in my world. Nothing enters my kingdom without my permission. Today I do not serve time. Time serves me. This act of centering creates a shield of density. When you leave your room, you are not a leaf in the wind. You are a force in motion. If you do not crown yourself every morning, the world will put the slave collar on you before noon. The clearest proof of a lack of sovereignty is justification. Observe the profane. When he says no to a request, he immediately adds an excuse. I can't come to your party because I have to work, and also my head hurts, and my car. Why does he justify himself? Because he feels he has no right to deny access to his time. He feels he must apologize for having his own will. The king never justifies himself. The king exercises the royal veto. When the sovereign says no, it is a complete sentence. It is a sentence. It requires no footnotes. The post-negative silence practice. Starting today, when you refuse something, an invitation, a deal, a demand on your time, simply say, no, I can't, or no, I'm not interested, and then be quiet. Feel the discomfort of the silence. The other person will wait for your excuse. Do not give it to them. Sustain the gaze. In that silence, your status elevates stratospherically. You are communicating, "My will is law. I do not need excuses to dispose of my own life." At first, you will feel rude, but you will observe something fascinating. People will start to respect you more. The world despises the one who grovels and respects the one who stands firm. Your yes only has value if your no is unshakable. Let's talk about the eyes. Eyes are the emitters of the ray of will. The profane has an evasive, nervous gaze. He seeks approval. He scans the room to see if he is safe. The sovereign has the owner's gaze. Imagine you enter a room and you are the owner of the building, the owner of the company, the owner of the land. Not with arrogance, but with the tranquility of one who has the keys in their pocket. How would you look? You would not look with fear. You would not look seeking validation. You would look with benevolent evaluation. You would look to see if everything is in order. The scanning exercise. When you enter a place or speak with someone, imagine that everything you see is your creation, because according to the law of mentalism, it is. Look at it calmly. Sustain eye contact for 1 second longer than is socially comfortable. Do not blink nervously. That gaze transmits a massive subconscious signal. I am not afraid. I do not need anything from you. I am complete. That signal disarms aggressors and magnetizes allies. Sovereignty is, above all, an optical phenomenon. Haste is the mark of the servant. The servant runs because time is not his. It belongs to the master. He is afraid of being late. The king is never in a hurry. The king possesses time. If the king arrives late, the party has not started. The party starts when the king arrives. You must eliminate the vibration of haste from your system. Haste is a declaration of scarcity. It screams, "There is not enough time. I am not in control." The sovereignty protocol demands you move with deliberate slowness. Walk 10% slower. Speak 10% slower. Eat slower. When you slow your physical pace, you send a feedback signal to your brain. Everything is under control. There is no threat. Your cortisol level drops. Your charisma rises. A slow, deliberate movement indicates a greater gravitational mass. Large planets move majestically. Small asteroids move erratically. Be a planet, not a space stone. Force the world to wait a second. You will find that the world gladly waits for one who values themselves. Here we arrive at the core of power. A king can lose his territory, but he never loses his composure. If someone can make you angry, they have conquered you. If someone can make you cry or fear with a word, they are your owner. You have the remote control to your emotions in their hands. The sovereign builds an immunity field. It is a psychic barrier that says, "Your chaos does not enter my order." The crystal throne technique. Imagine you are sitting on an elevated throne, surrounded by impenetrable crystal. Below on the floor, people shout, insult, cry, or panic. You see them, you hear them, but you are above. Their words hit the crystal and slide off. They do not touch you. You decide whether to descend to interact or not, but they cannot ascend. When someone insults or criticizes you, do not react. Do not defend yourself. Defense is weakness. If the king steps down from the throne to fight a peasant in the mud, he has already lost, even if he wins the fight. Look at the aggressor with detached curiosity. Think, "Wow, this subject is very agitated. How interesting." That emotional distance is pure power. Non-reaction to attack is the greatest humiliation for the attacker and the greatest victory for the sovereign. What is the king's greatest privilege? He doesn't have to lie. The servant lies to protect himself. He lies to please. He lies to manipulate. The king is not afraid of the consequences. Therefore, he affords himself the luxury of truth. Sovereignty is measured by your capacity to be authentic without apology. Say what you think, with manners but without the fear filter. Show what you feel. Don't laugh at jokes that aren't funny. Don't nod if you disagree. Every time you pretend to fit in, you are abdicating. You are saying, "The group's opinion is more important than my integrity." Paradoxically, this radical authenticity is what attracts the most. The world is hungry for something real. When they see someone who doesn't disguise themselves, they follow them instinctively. I must warn you, sovereignty has a price. The price is solitude. As you ascend to the 33rd degree, As you occupy your throne, many people will move away. Your old friends, accustomed to your submissive and compliant version, will feel uncomfortable with your new authority. They will call you changed, arrogant, cold. They will try to pull you back down into the mud with guilt. The sovereign must have the stomach to bear the solitude of the summit. You cannot take everyone with you. The eagle flies alone. The sheep go in flocks. You must be willing to walk alone for a while. You must learn to nourish yourself from your own source without needing constant validation from the tribe. But this solitude is temporary, because when you shine with the light of sovereignty, you start to attract other sovereigns. You stop attracting victims and start attracting masters. You trade quantity for quality. You create a new court, formed by equals, not dependents. Finally, how does the sovereign relate to money and matter? The king never needs and the king requires. The difference is vibrational. Need is a hole begging to be filled. Requirement is a logistical order. When the sovereign needs resources for his work, he does not worry. He knows that the kingdom, the universal subconscious, exists to sustain the king. The king is the head. The kingdom is the body. The body does not let the head die. The attitude of the inheritance. Treat money not as something you must hunt, but as the taxes that reality pays you for the privilege of being governed by your consciousness. Expect abundance. Do not be surprised when it arrives. When you receive money, do not jump for joy as if it were an unexpected miracle. Nod your head and say, correct. The system is working. Let us continue. The normalization of abundance is the seal of sovereignty. Chapter 9. The Law of Vertical Time, the Hourglass. The 9th law of the 33rd degree shatters the linear illusion. Time is not a horizontal line that runs from birth to death. Time is a vertical depth that opens in the present moment. The profane lives on the surface of time, horizontal. The master lives in the well of eternity, vertical. Welcome to the mechanics of the hourglass. To understand vertical time, you must first see where you live now. You live in horizontal time. It is a straight line. To your left is the past. Your memories, your traumas, your mistakes, your old identity. It is a cemetery of dead things you carry on your back. To your right is the future. Your goals, your fears, your hopes, death. It is a phantom that has not yet been born. The human tragedy is this. Most people spend 90% of their mental life on the left, lamenting, or on the right, worrying. They are almost never in the center. This means that technically they do not exist. They are phantoms, their bodies are here, but their consciousness is traveling in time, and since energy follows consciousness, their power is not here. It is scattered in yesterday and tomorrow. That is why it is so hard for them to manifest. They try to build a house today with the bricks of yesterday and the labor of tomorrow. They have no strength in the now. The master makes a 90-degree turn. He stops looking at the horizon line and looks down into the depth of the instant. He enters vertical time. Imagine that each second is not a step forward, but a door inward. In vertical time, there is no before or after. There is only depth. How deeply can you feel this moment? How intensely can you live this second? When you enter verticality, psychological time stops. You have experienced this in moments of crisis, great love, or flow. The clock disappears. An hour seems like a minute, or a minute seems like an eternity. That is the natural state of the master. In verticality, you have access to your total energy. There are no leaks to the past or the future. You are a laser of pure presence concentrated on a single point, and that point is the creation point. The symbol of this law is the hourglass. Look closely at it. The top bulb is the future, infinite possibility. The bottom bulb is the past, crystallized experience. But action, movement, life only happen in the narrow neck. That neck is the now. It is the only point where the sand moves. It is the only point where you have power. The profane tries to widen the bottom bulb, clinging to the past, or tries to break the top bulb, anxiety about the future. The master focuses exclusively on the neck. He knows that if he keeps the neck clean and clear, pure attention, the sand flows without friction. He knows that he can only process 1 grain of sand at a time. Anxiety is the attempt to force a ton of sand through the neck in 1 second. The result is a jam. The clock breaks. The nervous system collapses. The law of vertical time tells you, deal only with the grain of sand passing now. The rest is illusion. In mysticism, this crossing point is called the holy instant. It is a moment outside of time where cause and effect touch. It is the moment when the Master says, I am, not I was, guilt, not I will be, hope. I am. In that instant of absolute presence, you connect with the universal mind. The universe only exists in the now. God has no past or future. God is an eternal present. If you want to connect with the source of power, you have to go to where the source is here and now. If you are worried about tomorrow's money, you have disconnected from the source. If you are angry about yesterday, you have disconnected from the source. But if you bring all your attention, all your passion, and all your will to this precise beat of your heart, you become an open channel. The infinite energy of the upper bulb rushes through you without resistance. You manifest at light speed. Because there is no time resistance between your desire and your reality, you have eliminated temporal friction. We know that horizontal time, past future, is the dimension of the phantom, the dimension where power is diluted and life escapes. We know that the only point of contact with reality, energy, and divinity is the narrow neck, the holy instant of the now. But living in verticality in a horizontally designed world is an act of cognitive rebellion. Everything around you pushes you to leave the now. Deadlines push you to the future. Debts push you to the future. Regret pushes you to the past. Nostalgia pushes you to the past. Society is a temporal displacement machine. It wants you to be everywhere but here, because if you are here, you are powerful, and if you are powerful, you are uncontrollable. To inhabit vertical time, you need resistance protocols. You need to learn to stop the world. We enter the chronoalchemy workshop. These are the tools to manipulate the perception and density of time, turning you into the lord of your hours. The natural state of the profane is temporal hemorrhage. His vital energy is bleeding away to tomorrow, I have to do this, or to yesterday, I should have done that. This physically manifests as anxiety. Anxiety is not a disease, it is a location error. It is the vertigo of trying to live in a time where your body is not. The Master carries an emergency brake. It is a technique to cut the bleeding and bring all the energy back to the center in a microsecond. The stop protocol. When you feel your pulse accelerating, mental haste, the feeling of I won't make it, you must act with immediate violence. 1. The verbal command. Say aloud or shout internally, stop. 2. The somatic anchor. Gently strike your chest or thigh. Physical contact brings you back to the body. Your body is always in the present. Your mind is the traveler. By touching the body, you force the mind to return to base. 3. The block breath. Inhale deeply and hold your breath. By holding the breath, psychological time stops. The brain cannot think about the future while in controlled apnea. You are forcing a system reboot. 4. The now question. Exhale slowly and ask yourself, what am I lacking at this precise instant? Not in 5 minutes, not tomorrow, now, in this second. The answer is always nothing. In this microsecond you are breathing, you are alive, you are sustained. This protocol collapses the illusion of horizontal time. You realize that the problem is not here. It is in your imagination of the future. By returning to the now, you reclaim the energy you were sending to the imaginary problem. You recharge instantly. The hourglass has implacable physics. Only 1 grain of sand can pass through the neck at a time. If you try to force 2 grains, it jams. The glass breaks. In human life, the attempt to force multiple grains is called multitasking. The profane is proud of doing many things at once. He eats while checking emails. He talks on the phone while driving. He thinks about dinner during a meeting. He believes he is efficient. In reality, he is superficial. By dividing his attention, he divides his power. He lives on the surface of time where nothing is deep, nothing is sacred, and nothing is excellent. The Master practices radical monotasking. He respects the physics of the bottleneck, 1 grain at a time. If he is eating, he only eats. He feels the taste, the texture, the gratitude. That act of eating becomes vertical, deep, nourishing. If he is writing, the world disappears. Only the pen and the paper exist. If he is listening to someone, That person becomes the only being in the universe. The task consecration ritual. Before starting any activity, no matter how small, washing dishes, writing a report, the master pauses and consecrates the moment. He says, "For the next few minutes, this task is my universe. There is nothing else. I give my totality to this act." By doing this, time dilation occurs. When you put 100% of your consciousness into a task, subjective time slows down. You enter the flow state. You do in 20 minutes what takes the distracted profane 2 hours. Depth generates speed. Dispersion generates slowness. The master seems unhurried, yet finishes everything before anyone else because he does not waste energy on the friction of task switching. How is an initiate's day organized? He doesn't use an endless to-do list that generates anxiety. He uses immersion blocks. The master divides his day into segments of vertical time. From 9 to 11 is the creation block. He closes the door, turns off the phone, dives into the well. During those 2 hours, the external world does not exist. From 11 to 12 hours is the management block. He opens the floodgates, answers emails. He is efficient and quick. From 1 hour to 2 hours is the nutrition block. He eats without screens. Each block is a mini-life. Upon entering a block, you die to everything else. If you are playing with your children, work is dead. It doesn't exist. You cannot worry about a phantom. If you are working, family is temporarily dead. This capacity to compartmentalize is the key to mental health and high performance. It avoids temporal cross-contamination. The profane is always contaminated. At work, he thinks about home. At home, he thinks about work. He is never anywhere. He is always anxious. The master is totally where he is, and that totality is power. One of the greatest thieves of life is the concept of waiting. Waiting in the bank line, waiting in traffic, waiting for the doctor to call, waiting for the microwave to finish. The profane hates waiting. He feels he is losing time. He gets anxious, checks the clock, complains. His mind drifts to the future, when I'm served. The present becomes an annoying obstacle between him and his desire. The 33rd degree master never waits. He has eliminated the verb to wait from his dictionary. For the master, there is no dead time. There is only unassigned time. When the master finds himself in a line, he does not project himself to the moment of being served. He uses that gift of unstructured time to sink into verticality. The vertical mine exercise. You are in a traffic jam. The car is not moving. Instead of getting angry, horizontal, go downward, vertical. Use that time to observe your breathing. Use that time to send blessings to the other drivers. Use that time to observe the sunlight on the windshield. Use that time to repeat your decree, I am. You transform the waiting room into an improvised temple. Suddenly, the traffic jam is not an annoyance. It is a meditation opportunity. The time others lose in stress, you gain in peace. You have transmuted the lead of boredom into the gold of presence. One who knows how to inhabit the instant is never late, because he is always exactly where life is happening. Physics teaches us that time is relative. Gravity and speed alter it. Consciousness also alters it. Time is elastic. It stretches and shrinks according to your vibrational frequency. Low vibration, fear, boredom. Time crawls. A minute of pain feels like an hour. Density is high. High vibration, joy, passion. Time flies, hours feel like minutes. Density is low. But there is a third state, the master's state, spacious time. It is when the vibration is so high and the attention so focused that time seems to stop, but you are hyper-efficient within it. You feel you have all the time in the world. There is no haste. You see details with clarity. It is the state of the samurai in combat. Everything moves in slow motion. How is elasticity activated? Through non-resistance to the now. Haste is resistance. It is saying, I want this moment to pass quickly. That resistance creates friction, and friction makes time feel sticky and heavy. When you fully accept the moment, when you surrender to the natural speed of the event, the friction disappears. You glide through time. The I have time technique. When you feel you are running late, don't rush. Stop for a second and say, I am the owner of time. I have all the time I need. Walk calmly. Paradoxically, by eliminating the vibration of running late, you eliminate obstacles. Traffic lights turn green. The elevator is waiting. The person you were going to meet is also delayed. Reality synchronizes with your calm. Haste creates delays. Calm creates fluidity. The most advanced use of vertical time is for manifestation. In Chapter 4, we talked about selecting the timeline. Here we talk about bringing it into the present. The master does not see the future as something that is going to happen. He sees it as something that already exists in the eternal now, only on a different frequency. For the master, visualization is not imagining the future, it is remembering the future. If everything happens simultaneously in vertical time, in the mind of God, then your success 10 years from now is happening right now in a higher layer of reality. You can access that layer. You can remember what it feels like to be rich, even if you are poor. You can remember what it feels like to be healthy, even if you are sick. The inverse memory protocol. Sit in silence. Connect with your future self, who is your real self, on another frequency. Ask it to send you the feeling of victory. Feel that feeling. Anchor it in your body. Now, open your eyes. You are in the physical present, but you carry the vibration of the future. You have bent time. You have superimposed the future onto the present. This superimposition accelerates materialization because the universe cannot sustain two contradictory realities in the same space for long. Either you drop to the old reality, or reality rises to your new frequency. If you stay in the verticality of the memory of the future, reality rises. We conclude with the mystical vision. The goal of the 33rd degree is not to manage time to be productive and earn more money. It is to manage time to touch eternity. William Blake said, "To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour." That is the goal. To be able to live a moment so fully, so deeply, so free of past and future, that that moment is worth a lifetime. To look into your child's eyes and be there, totally, without the phone, without the worry of work. That is immortality. To feel the sun on your face and not wish you were anywhere else, that is heaven. The profane runs toward death, hoping to rest when he arrives. The master rests in life, finding eternity in every breath. Vertical time is the exit door from the matrix of linear time. It is the door to freedom. Chapter 10. The Law of the Keystone, the Unit. This is the last illusion of the profane, and even of the advanced initiate. The illusion of separation. You believe you are a drop in the ocean. You believe you are a small transmitter, sending signals to a large satellite. The 10th law, the law of the 33rd degree, is the destruction of that boundary. The master is not in the universe is in the master. There is no inside and outside. The observer, the observed, and the act of observing are one and the same. You are the keystone that holds reality together. Welcome to the consciousness of unity. Look at the stone arch. You have a pillar on the left, Jachin, force male. You have a pillar on the right, Boaz, form female. Both rise toward the sky, but they are separate. If they remain so, they are two isolated towers. They serve no purpose. For them to be useful, they must curve toward each other. They must seek each other, and at the highest point where they should collide and fall, the keystone is inserted. The keystone is the wedge-shaped piece that unites the force of the left with the form of the right. It transfers the weight from one side to the other. It makes tension turn into stability. In your life, the keystone is the consciousness of unity. Until now, you have operated in duality. I want one subject versus the desired object, my will versus the world's resistance. This duality creates friction. It creates distance. The law of the keystone tells you, you are the object you desire, there is no distance. The money you seek is not something you have to get. It is a quality of your own energy that you have to recognize. Health is not in the doctor, it is in your vibrational pattern. Love is not in another person, it is your own essence seeking reflection. When you place the keystone, you stop chasing and start emanating. You understand that everything you see outside is just a mirror of your own insides. And if everything is you, what can you fear? What can you lack? The ancient alchemists said, all is in the all. Modern physics calls it the holographic universe. If you cut a hologram into 100 pieces, each small piece contains the complete image of the whole, just with less resolution. You are a holographic fragment of the mind of God. This means you don't have a part of God's power. You have all the power coded in your center. You don't need to connect to the universe's Wi-Fi. You are the signal. The profane prays to a God who is up high in the clouds, external and capricious. He feels small. The 33rd degree master does not pray to God. He prays from God. He operates from the assumption that his mind and the universal mind are the same fabric. When the master thinks, God thinks. When the master decrees, the law moves. This is not a declaration of ego. I am God, said by the small personality. It is a declaration of responsibility. I am the channel through which divinity experiences itself. It is supreme humility and supreme power at the same time. If you understand that you are the whole, the struggle ends. Why would you fight against your own hand? Why would you hate your own foot? If your enemy is part of you, a projection of your shadow, you do not fight, you integrate. If scarcity is part of you, a projection of your fear, you do not combat, you heal. The keystone brings deep peace. It is the end of us against them. It is the end of me against the world. The world is your extended body. You treat your business as you treat your lung, with care, expecting it to work without anxiety. You treat your employees or clients as you treat your cells, nurturing them so they serve you. When you stop fighting reality and start cooperating with it as if it were your own body, friction disappears. You enter the perpetual flow. Things cease to be difficult because there is no one pushing against you anymore. It is only you dancing with yourself in the mirror of the cosmos. In the Bible it is said, if your eye is single, your whole body will be full of light. The single eye is the vision that has transcended the duality of good and evil. It is the vision that sees the underlying perfection. The profane sees tragedy. The master sees evolution. The profane sees loss. The master sees space for the new. The profane sees death. The master sees transformation. Placing the keystone means adopting the unified vision. It means trusting that everything that happens in your life, absolutely everything, is part of a perfect architecture designed for your expansion. Even the pain, even the fall, everything is material for the temple. When you look at the world with the single eye, fear dissolves because fear requires something external to threaten you. If nothing is external, nothing is a threat. You become invincible, not because you have the strongest armor, but because there is no one attacking you. It is only you playing hide and seek with yourself. We know that duality, force and form, creates the necessary tension for life, but the tension only becomes stable and eternal when the keystone of unity is placed. You know that you are not in the universe, but that the universe is in you. But this truth is radioactive. If you touch it without preparation, your ego burns. The ego is designed for separation. Its job is to say, I am this, and that is not me. To live the law of unity, you must hack the operating system of your perception. You must learn to walk down the street, see a tree, a building, or a stranger, and feel with the same certainty with which you feel your hand, that that is also you. This is the fusion protocol. It is the Grand Inspector's final practice. You no longer inspect the work from the outside. You become the work. The first boundary you must break is that of your own skin. Your brain tells you that your skin is a wall that separates you from the outside. Physics tells you that your skin is a porous membrane, a field of constant atomic and energetic exchange. There is no point where you end and the air begins. It is a gradient. The master practices the expansion of the auric field. It is an exercise in variable geometry, the expansion ritual. Sit on your throne, close your eyes. Feel the boundaries of your body, feel the skin. Now visualize your consciousness as a gas, a luminous mist that is trapped inside the bottle of your body. Remove the cap, the crown chakra. Feel your consciousness expand. Fill the room. Feel the walls of the room as if they were your second skin. You are the room. Expand further. Fill the neighborhood. Continue until the earth is a small sphere spinning in your center. In this expanded state, your personal problems, the bill, the knee pain, become microscopic. They are events occurring inside one cell of your cosmic body. From this immensity there is no fear. What can threaten the space that contains everything? This daily practice recalibrates your sense of identity. You stop being the particle and become the field. When you return to your small body, you bring the memory of immensity with you. And that memory gives you a dignity that no one can break. Unity is not just a solitary exercise. It is tested in contact with the other, and this is where most fail. They meditate on unity, but then they go out onto the street and judge the driver who cuts them off. That idiot. The moment you say idiot, you have broken the keystone. You have returned to separation. You have fallen from the 33rd degree to the 1st degree. The Master uses a social technology called the Namaste of power. It is not the submissive yoga greeting. It is a recognition of authority. It means the God in me sees and recognizes the God in you, despite your disguise. The recognition practice. When you meet someone, especially someone difficult, an enemy, a debtor, a tyrant, do not look at their mask, their personality, their ego. Use your X-ray vision to look behind their eyes. There in the background is a spark of the same universal mind that inhabits you. That spark is trapped in a maze of fears and traumas, but it is there. Speak to the spark. Say internally, I see you, I know who you are me in another disguise. When you do this, a phenomenon of quantum entanglement occurs. By recognizing their divinity, you activate yours, and often the other person reacts. They calm down. They treat you with respect. They don't know why, but they feel seen on a deep level. You have disarmed their ego by not fighting it, but by speaking directly to their sleeping king. Treating everyone from the beggar to the king with the same absolute reverence is not charity. It is the affirmation that you are everything. If you despise the beggar, you despise yourself. If you fear the king, you fear yourself. Unity eliminates social fear. How can you be afraid of yourself? We arrive at the final technical correction for manifestation. The profane tries to use the law of attraction. The word attraction implies that the desired object, money, love, is far away and you have to pull it toward you. This implies separation. It implies duality. And duality generates resistance. The 33rd degree master does not use attraction. He uses emanation. Since the keystone unifies everything, the master knows that money, health, and love are already within his field of consciousness. They are not out there. They are here in a latent state. You don't have to go look for them. You have to emit them. Think of the sun. The sun does not attract light. The sun is light and emanates it outward. If you want love, do not go looking for it like a hungry beggar. Emanate love, vibrate in love. Become a star of love so dense that the planets, people, have no choice but to orbit you. If you want money, do not chase it. Emanate value, emanate prosperity, emanate the feeling of wealth. When you shift from trying to get to starting to radiate, the pressure disappears. There is no more anxiety about the outcome because the source is within. Emanation is a constant outward flow, and by physical law, what goes out must be resupplied. The more you emanate, the more you receive. It is a perpetual high-energy cycle. If everything is one, and if the external world is a projection of your inner world, as we saw in the Law of Order, then you have one terrifying and wonderful responsibility. You are responsible for everything you see. If you see injustice in the world, there is a seed of injustice in you. If you see illness in your brother, there is a seed of illness in you. The profane says, that's not my fault. He washes his hands. The master says, this is in my reality, therefore it is part of my consciousness. I will heal it. This is the scientific basis of Ho'oponopono and distance healing. You do not try to change the other. You try to heal the part of yourself that is projecting that reality. The correction protocol. When you see something bad in your world, a tragic news story, a sick friend, a conflict, 1. Do not reject it, do not judge it. 2. Bring it into your heart. 3. Say to the divinity within you, I am sorry. Please forgive me for anything in me that has contributed to creating this reality. Thank you. I love you. 4. Cleanse your own perception until you can see the situation with peace and love. When you heal your perception, the external hologram changes. Sometimes the problem is solved miraculously. Sometimes it simply stops affecting you. But the result is that you have restored unity. You have closed the crack in the mirror. You have assumed total responsibility. And total responsibility is total power. Only the one who takes responsibility for the world has the right to govern it. The keystone has one final property. It makes the arch eternal. As long as the stone is there, the arch supports itself by its own weight. It needs no cement. Gravity, which should destroy the arch, is the force that holds it together. When you achieve the consciousness of unity, you conquer death. Not necessarily the death of the physical body, which is a change of clothes, but the fear of extinction. If you are the universe, you cannot die. The wave may break on the shore, but the ocean remains the ocean. You are the water, not the wave. The Master lives with a tranquility that unnerves mortals. He is not in a hurry because he has eternity. He is not afraid of loss because everything is within him. He is not afraid of loneliness because he is never alone. This invincible peace is the true treasure of the 33rd degree. It is the treasure that moth and rust do not corrupt. It is the peace that surpasses all understanding. It is the stability of the pyramid. What does the Master do once he has achieved unity? Does he dissolve into light and abandon the earth? Sometimes. But the highest Master chooses to stay. He chooses to return to the marketplace. He chooses to return to the world of duality. But he returns differently. He returns to hold the light for those still in the dark. He returns to be the keystone of his community, his family, his company. He becomes a pillar of stability in a world of chaos. People lean on him without knowing why. They feel that everything will be all right when he is near. His mere presence orders the room. His mere gaze calms fear. The ultimate purpose of all this training of the 10 laws is not just your personal enlightenment. It is to become an agent of stability for the cosmos. It is to become an anchor point where divine light can touch the earth without distortion. You are God's lightning rod. In the end, you realize that the temple you have been building is not a stone building, nor a bank account, nor a perfect body. The temple is humanity, and you are one of the living stones. By perfecting yourself, by squaring your stone, you fit perfectly into the wall of human evolution. You make the whole structure stronger. Your personal success elevates the average of human success. Your freedom liberates others. Your light illuminates the way for those who come after. This is the great work. It is not about what you get. It is about what you sustain. The doors of the temple have closed. The ritual is concluded. You find yourself once again in the silence, but you are no longer the same man nor the same woman who entered the chamber of reflection at the beginning of this journey. You entered as a rough ashlar, unpolished, beaten by the gavel of chance, a victim of your own passions and the chaos of the world. But through the 10 laws, you have been carved. In the first phase, you learned the discipline of silence and order. You understood that power is accumulated by closing your mouth and organizing your mind. You learned to walk on the mosaic pavement, integrating your light and your shadow into a unified force. In the second phase, you took the tools. You aligned your life with the square of rectitude and the compasses of the Spirit. You recovered the lost word, learning to decree instead of ask. You accepted the fire of the phoenix, letting your small ego die so the sovereign could be born, and you learned the hydraulics of the pelican, serving the world to maintain your own flow. And in the third phase, you ascended to the throne. You sat in your own sovereignty, stopped time in the vertical hourglass, and finally placed the keystone, dissolving the illusion of separation between you and the cosmos. Now you carry the rank of Grand Inspector. But this title is not a medal to be worn before the profane. It is a burden of sacred responsibility. The Grand Inspector is the one who sees. He is the one who can look at the chaos of the world and not be dragged down by it, but who, with his mere presence, imposes order. He is the one who sustains the structure of reality for those who are weaker. You are now a pillar of the temple of humanity. Wherever you go, you carry the temple with you. Your mind is the lodge, your heart is the altar, your will is the gavel. You no longer seek the light, you have become the source of the light. The world will test you, chaos will try to enter, but you will remain immovable, centered on your axis, knowing that nothing can touch the one who has conquered himself. Your work is finished. Your reign has begun. The final question is not what you will achieve, but what world will you build with the power you now hold? If this code has awakened the Master in you, seal this pact. Subscribe to our channel, Path of Knowledge, to continue your instruction in the greater mysteries. Like this video as your signature in the Book of Life. Share this code with those who are ready to pass from darkness into light. Thank you for your work in the quarry. The work is perfect. Go in peace.